Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in DanMachi. Start a simulator. Chapter 61. When Li Yiming looked at Tong Mo, the latter also saw him. This made Tong Mo, who didn't feel too many emotional changes, startled for a moment, and then covered his cheeks with the folding fan in his hand, and slowly stood up from the floor. Oh, who are you? How did you get here? Tong Mo squinted his eyes and looked at Li Yiming's position quite interestingly. He couldn't sense any aura of Li Yiming, whether it was blood energy or so-called battle energy. It seemed as if they didn't exist, but he was clearly standing there. The weird phenomenon made Tong Mo a little puzzled. He had only seen this kind of situation in Sheng Xianyi He Simo's body. The next moment, Tong Mo felt that his thoughts were very absurd. He was just an ordinary human being. How could he still reach the level of His Excellency Fansimo? Simply whimsical. There is no need for us to continue chatting. If you want to know, you can get it yourself. Oh, it's really straightforward. So you are also a member of the ghost killing team. It doesn't seem to be Zhu, although I don't know how you found it here, but it's too young for mere people to want to kill me. Look at me a bit, so why not bring a woman over? Tong Mo's expression didn't change at all, but when he opened his eyes again, the big words on the eyeballs were already revealed. In the left eye is the winding string, and in the right eye it is a separate subtraction. Whether I can kill you or not will only be known after trying. Besides, you probably won't live until tomorrow. Hee. Many human beings have said this before, but unfortunately, they all failed. The man was cut into pieces by me, and the woman was integrated with me and lived forever together. Today is no exception. Quote, when I take you down and give you to that lord, everything will come to light. Blood Ghost Art Frozen Cloud. With Tong Mo waving his folding fan, in an instant, a large number of ice crystals enveloped the entire courtyard like clouds, and most of them were heading towards Ji Shiming's place. The invasion of cold air froze the ground. Most importantly, the air was filled with ice crystals frozen from Tong Mo's own blood, almost invisible to the naked eye, and they also drifted silently towards Li Yiming's position. If it is accidentally inhaled into the lungs, not only will it be difficult to breathe, but even the alveoli will be necrotic. This is the true strength of Shengxian number 2 Tong Mo. The blood ghost technique of the ice attribute, the natural restraint of breathing. If it weren't for this old boy who likes waves, with this kind of power, he would be almost invincible. Unfortunately, character defects are often more fatal. Breath of flame, unbridled shape, winding flame. The fierce flame rose instantly, and the scorching temperature instantly isolated the surrounding ice crystals. The moment the two touched, there was a fierce confrontation. When the flame was wiped out by the ice crystal was also melted by the flame, and then turned into water and flow to the ground. However, the color of this water is not normal in any way. Breath of flame. It's really a coincidence that I have met an old enemy, so it is even more impossible for me to let you go. Tong Mo narrowed his eyes again, and picked up a folding fan with his other free hand. Judging by his appearance, it seemed that he was going to choose to use all his strength. There is no need to continue this level of temptation. There is only one person who can leave here today. Li Yiming held the sun wheel knife. His face remained unchanged, and he probably understood Tong Mo's current strength. As he guessed, it was equivalent to an adventurer in the middle of LV.2. Even with the addition of strange means, the increase in combat power is not great. At least he is not afraid of the opponent's blood ghost technique. Under the transparent world, Tong Mo's every move can be seen very clearly. Whether it is the release of the ice crystals or the trajectory of the ice crystals, Li Yiming can clearly capture them, so there is no need to worry about being plotted against. Not to mention, he still has the breath of the sun that he hasn't used yet. But there is no way to use it. After all, if he uses the breath of the sun to kill Tong Mo cleanly and neatly, he will definitely be like a frightened bird when he sees everything from the screen before his death. If he really scares him, then directly if you choose to fight, then things will be a big deal. At least you have to meet with him and lock his breath. At that time, no matter how Boss Scrap escapes or where he hides, he will be found, so for now, let's have a close battle first. Blood Ghost Art Lotus Leaf Ice. Blood Ghost Art, Manhwa. Tong Mo waved his folding fan quickly, and lotus-like ice crystals shot towards him like lightning. At the same time, several ice vines entwined with ice lotus flowers snaked forward. The former blocked Li Yiming's range of action, and the ice vines wanted to restrain him. When he got up, two kinds of blood ghost techniques erupted at the same time. Obviously Tong Mo was already serious. After all, Li Yiming is a man, and he doesn't meet Tong Mo's prerequisite for releasing water at all. This kind of high-speed combo is difficult for ordinary pillars to resist. After all, in the case of unequal intelligence, they will not choose to distance themselves, but use the sun wheel knife in their hands to resist. At this time, they will unconsciously inhale ice crystals, which will greatly damage their combat power. However, Li Yiming doesn't have to worry about this problem. Even if he doesn't use the breathing method, his physical fitness alone is comparable to Tong Mo, not to mention that his breath of flame is not just a combat skill, but can truly create elemental power skills. If Tong Mo is the nemesis of the swordsman of the ghost-killing team, then he is Tong Mo's nemesis. Breath of Flame 1 Shape hyphenation point Shiranui. The ice vines were cut, Li Yiming's right foot slammed on the ground, and the whole person shuttled back and forth in the ice crystal lotus, wantonly dodging all attacks, and some ice crystal lotuses that could not dodge could also rely on the light armor on their body after resisting. The equipment made by him is quite amazing in defense. Aware of the weirdness on Li Yiming, Tong Mo's eyes fell on Li Yiming's body. The armor gleaming in the moonlight made him look curious again. Is it a new gadget for the ghost-killing squad? But something that can only increase the defense, but it can't pose a threat to me. Blood ghost art scattering lotus blossoms. A large number of finely crushed ice petals appeared out of thin air, and each petal was as sharp as a blade. Driven by Tong Mo, it swept towards Li Yiming's position from all directions. Breath of Flame 3 types hyphenation point Flame Vientian. The flame rose out of nowhere, crushing all the surrounding ice petals. Finally, Li Yiming also came to Tong Mo's side. The latter didn't deliberately want to distance himself, but when the Rilin Dao slashed towards his neck, the folding fan in his hand also danced at high speed. Blood ghost art, weeping snow in the dry garden. The two folding fans were waving at high speed in Tong Mo's hands. Every time they were swayed and retracted, there would be a lot of frost mixed in. Li Yiming didn't dodge, and also swung the sun wheel knife in his hand. The flames and ice crystals collided within a short distance, accompanied by splashing of blood. Chance. Grasping an opening, Li Yiming raised the knife and shook Tong Mo's folding fan away. Breath of Flame 2 Shapes Rising Summer. Wrapped in flames, the Rilin knife instantly cut Tong Mo's left hand in half, and then fell again, aiming at his neck. The latter resisted with a folding fan, and at the same time withdrew and retreated. That's amazing. You are stronger than all the swordsmen of the Demon Slayer squad I've seen. You almost cut off your neck just now. It's a pity you didn't catch it. You won't have such a chance again in the future. The smile on Tong Mo's face completely disappeared. He had already been here enough time. If the object is a woman, he may still be in the mood to tease her for a while, but if a man hurts himself like this, then give him the worst way to die. Thinking of this, Tong Mo touched his neck and focused all his attention on recovery. How is that possible? Whether it is the neck or the arm, it is still in the state of being cut, and you can see the wriggling of the broken body, but no matter how hard he tries, he can't restore it. It was as if there was a magical power restricting his regeneration. Don't waste your efforts. At least in a short period of time, your injury can't recover, and the regeneration of ghosts cut by this knives will be inhibited. We are back on the same starting line. Losing the regeneration ability of ghosts, your fate is sealed. The sun wheel knife in Li Yiming's hand was extremely red, emitting the same color as the sun. What he Dao, although I don't know how you did it, but as long as I kill you, I will have enough time to regenerate. Not caring about his injuries, Tong Mo waved his remaining hand again. Blood ghost art fog ice water lily bodhisattva. A huge iceman resembling a bodhisattva rises from the ground, with its hands clasped together, its eyes closed tightly, and a terrifying cold air emanating from its body, almost freezing the entire yard. Putting aside his contempt completely, Tong Mo didn't intend to continue spending it any longer. Li Yiming's strength far exceeded his expectations, and if his ability to regenerate was suppressed, then the ghost's biggest advantage would no longer exist, and it would not be good for him to continue to drag on. The sky is also about to dawn, so before the sun rises, we must get rid of this man in front of us. Boom! The ice statue of Bodhisattva with its eyes closed swung the knife in its hand, and the ground was dented by it. Not only that, a large number of ice crystals sprayed out from the ice statue's mouth, so dense that there was almost no dead angle. Li Yiming could only stand still and wave the sun wheel knife in his hand to block it. But even so, the two dense crystals still scratched his calf. His upper body and arms were protected by light armor, so he didn't suffer too much damage, but the impact from the impact still made him very uncomfortable, and scarlet spots covered his whole body. From the outside, Li Yiming is now not only suppressed, but has reached the brink of collapse. How miserable. The performance should be about the same. This kind of reversal that is on the verge of collapse but then explodes at the end of the day. I think it will not make Guiwusuji feel scared, and maybe he will take some actions to eliminate the threat in advance. This is exactly what I want. If you want it, Tongmo has no use value anymore. In that case, let's end it. In the next moment, a burst of fire appeared instantly, enveloping Li Yiming in it. Breath of flame, profound truth, nine-shaped purgatory. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. The ice surface in the courtyard cracked instantly, and Li Yiming turned into a ball of flames, and then went towards all the ice crystals with a stream of light, and then shattered all the ice crystals. The ice crystals along the way were all melted by the high temperature and completely turned into water vapor. The fire dragon hit the ice statue, causing only a brief stalemate, and then smashed the huge ice statue of Bodhisattva. Tongmo, who was standing on the shoulder of the ice statue, could only watch the dazzling light approaching. Devour him completely. Bang rumble. The mountains shook for a while, and the vision in the yard completely disappeared. Li Yiming was half kneeling on the ground, with the sun wheel knife in his hand, leaning on the ground. His body was dripping with blood, and his chest was churning non-stop, giving an image of exhaustion. Looks like I won. Not far in front of him, Tongmo's lower body was nowhere to be seen, only his head lay flat on the ground. His gaze was fixed on Li Yiming, and there was an inexplicable meaning in his eyes. Regarding death, Tongmo has never been afraid, or even felt anything. He has no feelings, but as the leader of the Bliss sect, he has seen a lot of disguises and performances, and he can clearly feel the faint sense of disobedience on Li Yiming. For some reason, Tongmo always feels that Li Yiming can easily kill him. To die himself, but not to do so. So, why would he do it? Well, forget it, it seems that this is the end of it. The last thought remaining in his mind, Tongmo's head was completely reduced to ashes, and with his death, the ice crystals in the yard also completely melted, and the surrounding area was a mess. As for the last figure of Li Yiming, it was clearly remembered by Tongmo and brought into hell. Did you die? It's really tiring to perform. The moment Tongmo completely dissipated, Li Yiming's exhausted state just now completely disappeared. He stood up slowly, wiped off the blood on his face, and took the wheel knife back to the minister. Looking at the surrounding situation, I couldn't help but become emotional. It took a lot of effort to deceive Boss Xiao. Although there are some flaws, you can only read the memories of Ghost Dance Suji. You shouldn't see too many violations. The plan should still be successful. Next, you can take it easy for a while. Taking out the potion prepared in advance from his bosom, Li Yiming raised his head and poured it into his mouth. In a moment, the seemingly serious injury on his body was actually only a superficial injury, and it recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally there was no scar left. Without the potion, Li Yiming wouldn't have dared to perform so unscrupulously. The next step is to wait for Onamui Suji to take the bait, but before that, for the final evaluation, there are still some things that need to be done. Let's go to the ghost-killing team's resident first. Ignoring the screams inside the Wanshi Bliss cult, Li Yiming left the place without a sound. The battle just now has been leaked, so let others finish the finishing work. At the same time, in a certain villa in Dong, Li Jiao, Jing Asakusa, Oniwu Suji, who was flipping through various books in the study, froze, as if he had sensed something, and immediately fell into deep thought. Boom! He closed the book in his hand fiercely, and his face became very ugly. Winding up, the second Tongmo was actually killed. There has been no death of the Shangxian ghost for hundreds of years. When the ghost-killing team has a pillar that can kill the Shangxian, those ants that are an eyesore can always jump around. It's fine if you hinder yourself from looking for the blue other shore flower, and now this kind of powerhouse has appeared again. Forcibly enduring the anger in his patience, Guiwu Suji began to read the memory fragments before Tong Mo's death with gloomy eyes, and the figure of Li Yiming gradually emerged. No red haori, all black hair, no earrings, not that guy. After carefully observing the image of Li Yiming, it is not the frightening image in the depths of memory, which undoubtedly made Guiwu Suji heave a sigh of relief, and gradually recovered from his original suspicion. As long as it is not Ji Guiwanyi, then he is the strongest ghost king and he is not afraid of anyone. With a panoramic view of all the battle scenes, ghost dance industry has no misfortune, it also becomes more at ease. It's so disappointing to me. Tong Mo can't even deal with such a small role, but it's also reasonable. The breath of flame and the He Dao will make Tong Mo immune to the blood ghost technique. It seems that the markings should still be turned on. Just don't know where it is hidden. Tong Mo's loss is not wrong. But that's all. Although there is some strength, there is nothing to worry about. Except for that guy, the person who turns on the stripes will definitely not live to be 25 years old, so don't pay attention to him at all. However, to be on the safe side, it's better to dispose of him, lest the stripes cause a chain reaction of other swordsmen. Maybe like Iwazuo, he can be turned into a ghost and increase his strength. It's obviously a group of ants, but their resilience is quite tenacious. Since you killed Tong Mo, then use your life to pay for it. Naru, call all the strings to Infinity City. Yes, my Lord Wu am I. Naruto's voice rang in the ears of Oni Wusuji, and then under the effect of the blood ghost technique, Oni Wusuji and all the upper strings were forcibly summoned to the Infinite City. The sudden change of the picture made the five Shangxian slightly startled, but after noticing the familiar place, their tense expressions were completely relieved, and their expressions became very respectful. The Shangxian ghosts looked at each other at the same time, and there was an indescribable deep meaning in their eyes. They haven't gathered together for a long time. Since the last ranking battle, they have received orders from Oni Wusuji Mumi unilaterally, but they will not meet other Shangxian ghosts. This is because Mumai Onamai Suji seldom brings all the Kamazu together. This guy is very cautious, or it can be said that he is afraid of death. Even though he has control over all the ghosts, he is still afraid that the ghosts will gather to rebel against him, so under normal circumstances, they will not allow too much competition among the ghosts. At the same time, it will not give too many such opportunities. Now that all the Shangxian ghosts are gathered together, it is obvious that something very important has happened. That guy Tong Mo hasn't come for a long time. Could it be that the reason for this gathering has something to do with that guy? Clang clang. The sound of the zither sounded again, and Ghost Wusuji appeared directly above. Except for Hei Simo, who was still sitting cross-legged on the spot, the other Shangxian ghosts, even the prostitute Taro who was inside Luoji's body, all appeared directly, half kneeling on the ground, with their heads lowered, not daring to offend in the slightest. In fact, the degree of respect these Shangxian ghosts have for Oni Wusuji is far beyond imagination. Tong Mo is dead. Without too much foreshadowing of the atmosphere, Wei Wuwu said the news directly. What? The moment he heard these words, almost all the Shangxian ghosts present had their pupils shrunk slightly, their hearts were filled with turbulent waves, their heads suddenly lifted, and their faces showed disbelief. Shangxian ghost was actually killed. How could such a thing happen? You must know that Tong Mo is one of the top 3 existences among the 12 ghost months. Countless human beings have been killed over hundreds of years, and there are many Yuju existences among them. A breathing creature, how could he be killed by other people? This is too unbelievable. However, there was a person in the crowd who showed a different look. The corner of Iwazuo's mouth was filled with a hidden arc. Although he was also surprised by Tong Mo's death, the death of this guy who made him very disliked was undoubtedly great news. He had wanted to do this a long time ago. If it wasn't for his lack of strength, coupled with Gui Wusuji's disapproval, that's why he was forced to run aground. Now someone is doing it for him. What a good man. My Lord Wu am I, how did Tong Mo die? Could it be that the Wanshi Bliss sect was discovered by the ghost-killing team and was surrounded by several pillars? Hei Simo asked calmly, and the 6 eyes looked at one place very flabbergasted. There was only one person who killed him. I'm not sure if it was a swordsman from the ghost-killing team. He used the breath of flames. His physical strength was different from ordinary people. He was able to arouse the knives, and he might have opened the stripes. Tong Mo was carelessly killed by he. During the slashing, the regenerative ability was inhibited, and he was beheaded under the great loss of strength. The other Shangxian ghosts are a little unclear, but Heisimo has captured the key content. The physical strength is different from ordinary people. Coupled with Hidao and Zebra, it is indeed possible to kill Tong Mo. After all, he has personally experienced the power of Zebra. What's more, Heisimo generally understands Tong Mo's situation. There is nothing wrong with a guy who likes to tease others in battle, just die like this. He is dead, I hope you can find that guy and kill him. Ignoring the subordinates below who were chattering, Guiwu Suji's eyes fell on Heishimo's body, and he expressed his appeal in a cold tone. Although he thinks that Li Yiming's strength is not enough to threaten him, he still can't keep him. As soon as one of Ji Guiwan appears, any human being that may become a threat cannot be allowed to grow up, and must be killed in the cradle when it is weak. My lord, with all due respect, the person who has turned on the stripes will definitely not live to be 25 years old. There is absolutely no need to pay attention to a dying person. That's right, Mr. Wu Mi, why don't you hand over that guy to me? I will twist his head off with my own hands, and bring his body back. Yivazuo also hurriedly echoed, his eyes gleaming with unspeakable excitement. He can't wait to fight against the strong man who can kill Tong Mo. However, the imaginary promise did not appear, and what Yivazuo ushered in was Wea, the ghost dancer Sujiwumi, who directly crushed his whole body to the ground. His veins bulged, but he didn't dare to make any struggling movements. I'm sorry, Mr. Wu Mi, my subordinates dare not. Yi Wazuo hurriedly begged for mercy. Boom! As soon as the voice fell, Yivazuo's whole body exploded instantly, a large amount of minced meat and blood splashed everywhere, and the rest of the ghosts were more or less stained, but they didn't dare to wipe even a little with their hands. There was deep fear in the eyes of every Shangxian, and they knew that Guiwu Suji Wuyu was really angry. This is the last time, I don't want to hear anyone disobeying my orders again, do you hear me clearly? BJEF. Yes, my lord Wu Mi. A group of Shangxian hurriedly agreed, not daring to disobey in the slightest. Find that human being as soon as possible, and then deal with them. Let's all go back. After saying this, Oniwu Suji turned around and disappeared in place until his figure completely disappeared. The feeling of oppression is completely gone. All the winding ghosts at the scene couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief, their faces filled with the afterlife. It was at this time that the exploded Yivazuo dared to recover, and his forehead was already covered with cold sweat. Li Yiming didn't know what happened in Infinite City. He, who has long since left the Bliss sect, kept looking for the location of the ghost-killing squad based on the information he had traveled through the simulation. The specific direction is not clear, and this behavior is undoubtedly looking for a needle in a haystack. However, it is not for nothing. As long as you find the location of the Wisteria Flowers family, it is not difficult to contact the ghost-killing team. This Wisteria Flower family crest is too hard to find. I haven't found it in the nearby towns. It has been many days. I haven't even met a swordsman from the ghost-killing team. This is too bad luck. Sitting on a rock, Li Ming's face revealed a momo of helplessness. It always feels a little sloppy. Adventurers can't just take risks, it's better to have some brains, at least now they don't have to face such an embarrassing situation, and they can't even find the way, which is too miserable. So what should we do now? Scratching his head in distress, Li Yiming felt a little numb all over. He always felt that the ideal was full and the plan was very reasonable, but in practice, he was so skinny. Crowds come and go, it is a lively scene. Only Li Yiming was sitting on the side of the road alone. In this strange world, he always had an aura of incompatibility. Suddenly, a familiar figure came into view. Li Yiming's confused eyes lit up instantly at this moment. The familiar pink haori, with beautiful patterns like butterflies printed on it, and the sunwheel knife on his waist, what a coincidence. It seems that there is no need to search like a headless chicken. Li Yiming stood up immediately, and quickly chased after the figure. Hello, do you know what happened to the Bliss sect a few days ago? Butterfly Chana Wei is inquiring about the situation of the Bliss sect in the town. She was looking for the whereabouts of the man-eating ghosts nearby, but she received the news from the crow. There was a fight with someone, so he rushed over immediately. The field situation of Wan Shi Bliss cult has been investigated. The battle in the yard was very fierce, but there were no corpses. It is not clear what the final result will be. Not only that, all the believers of that sect fled, and there was no way to get other news. In desperation, Butterfly Kanae could only come to a nearby town to inquire about news, hoping to get some useful information from it. However, I have asked many passers-by, but there is no useful information. Butterfly Kanae couldn't help being a little discouraged, but there was still a gentle smile on her face. Thank you for your message, sorry to hit you. Nodding towards the passers-by, Butterfly Chana Wei leaned back slightly. Even if she turned around and left, even if she got nothing now, she still couldn't give up the information she needed to inquire about. Even if the process is like finding a needle in a haystack. Hi, first time meeting, excuse me a little. The sudden sound in the ears stopped Butterfly Chana Wei, and the girl turned her head subconsciously, and Li Yiming's delicate face was instantly imprinted in her eyes. Such a handsome young man made her slightly taken aback. For some reason, Butterfly Kanae always felt as if she had seen him somewhere. Hello, what's the matter? Excuse me, you should be the ghost swordsman of the ghost killing team. Although it was very unexpected to meet Butterfly Chana Wei, Li Yiming did not lose his composure too much, but chose to go straight to the point. I want to fight with ghosts. Kill the team and cooperate to deal with the ancestor of the ghost, that is, the ghost dance Sujiwuma. I hope you can help me introduce it. This sudden request made Butterfly Chanel froze in place. But when she saw the light armor on Li Yiming's body and the sun wheel knife hidden under the cloak, she realized something instantly, and a touch of surprise appeared in her beautiful eyes. Excuse me, I would like to ask, sir, have you ever been to the Bliss sect before? If you want to ask about the battle that took place at the Bliss cult of the world, I did it. I met Tong Mo, the second child of the upper string, and successfully killed him after a night of fighting. Without any intention of hiding anything, Li Yiming told the whole story. This will undoubtedly become a bargaining chip for the ghost killing team to believe in him. After all, as long as you do a little research, you will be able to know the leader of the Bliss sect, and then you will be able to verify whether his words are true. Shangxian number 2. Liar. Sir, do you mean that you killed the Shangxian number 2 of 12 ghost moons? Butterfly Chana Wei was stunned when she heard Li Yiming's words. Her face was full of words. I can't believe it. After all, it's just too unbelievable. 12 ghost moons are very powerful, but so far, their ghost killing team has only killed Shaxian ghost. The swordsmen who encountered Shangxian ghost were almost all killed by that group of monsters without exception, and there was even a pillar among them. The strength of Shangxian ghost was truly engraved in the hearts of all members of the ghost killing team. Now a person suddenly appeared and told her that he had killed Shangxian Gui. How could Butterfly Shanae believe this? But when I think back to everything I saw in the Bliss cult before, the intense scene, ordinary evil spirits don't have that kind of strength at all, and the malice left in the yard is very flimsy. Just standing there makes people shudder. The combination of 2 and 2 made Butterfly Kanae have to believe the words just now. Or, Butterfly Kanae would prefer this to be true. If Li Yiming really killed the second, then no matter from which aspect, it would be a great thing. At least let everyone see the hope of killing Ghost Mai Suji. Suppressing the strangeness in her heart, Butterfly Kanae glanced around, and then smiled again. Sir, this is not a place to talk. Please come with me. Let's find a place where no one is around and talk in detail about the previous evil ghost. No problem, then I will trouble you to lead the way. Naturally, Li Yiming would not refuse, and finally found someone who could lead the way. Of course he couldn't just let it go. After all, he needed the help of the other party to find the ghost-killing squad's base. So, the two walked side by side towards the central area of the town. Neither of them spoke during the journey. After wandering around, I finally came to the door of a house with an unattractive appearance. There was a big family crest printed on the door, with wisteria flowers surrounding the word, vine. Other than that, there was no special sign, but it is indeed located in this place. Looking at the simple gate in front of him, Li Yiming couldn't help laughing. He was about to be made to cry by himself. He was obviously in the same town, but he couldn't find it after searching for so long. Could it be that he also has the attribute of hiding road idiots? Here, Mr. Li Yiming, this is the property of the Wisteria Wahyaman family. an organization that provides various services and information to the members of the ghost killing squad who are on missions outside. Let's go in together. On the way here, the two simply exchanged basic information. After hearing Butterfly Kanae's words, Lee Yiming nodded readily, and the girl as gentle as a butterfly stepped forward and knocked on the door gently. Coming. A voice that sounded extremely old came from the house, and after a while, the wooden door opened from the middle, revealing an old woman with white hair. The years had left obvious marks on her face. The old man has always had a gentle face and squinted his eyes, giving people a very kind feeling. Master Wazoo, welcome to come. The other party recognized Butterfly Kanae's identity at a glance, and hurriedly bowed to salute. Grandma, don't be like this. I'm just an ordinary ghost hunter. Everyone is here to exterminate evil spirits. It's just that the division of labor is different, but there is no distinction between high and low. Butterfly Kanae hurried forward to help the old woman up. Since it is Master Waju's request, please come with me. Then, Mr. Lee Yiming, let's go in together. One greeted the other, and the three of them quickly entered the room. This room was bigger than imagined, and they had to go through the yard to reach the real residence. There were not many people in the whole yard, which made Lee Yiming feel emotional. The ghost killing team is not just ghost hunters, the work of these behind-the-scenes personnel is equally important. If it weren't for them, the frontline swordsmen would not be able to devote themselves to the ghost hunting business wholeheartedly. Then, Master Wazoo, I will wrong you to live here. The old lady opened a sliding door and said apologetically, I'm going to prepare food for you right now. There is a change of clothes in the house, the two adults can have a good rest. It's too much trouble for you, mother-in-law. No, that's what we do. The old lady smiled all over her face. She didn't feel that there was anything wrong with these jobs. On the contrary, she enjoyed it. As long as she could provide some convenience for these ghost hunters, they would be overjoyed. With the old lady gone, only Lee Yiming and Butterfly Chanahui were left in the room. Mr. Lee Yiming, come in and rest first. After dinner, please continue to tell me about the ghost of the Wan Shi Bliss sect, is that okay? Looking at Butterfly Shanae's gentle smile, Lee Yiming shook his head lightly. Miss Butterfly, you don't need to be so troublesome. If you want to verify whether I am lying, there is an easier way. Why don't we have a sparring session? Butterfly Chanahui was stunned by Lee Yiming's proposal. This slightly rough way of acting really made it difficult for a kind and gentle girl like her to accept, but after thinking about it, this seemed to be the simplest and most direct way of verification. It can not only verify the opponent's strength, if it is true, but also know the strength of Shangxian ghost from the side. Kill two birds with one stone, there seems to be no reason to refuse. Thinking of this, Butterfly Kanae's expression also became serious. Then I will trouble Mr. Lee Yiming to teach me. Miss Butterfly is too polite. I don't have any advice. It's just to express my sincerity. After all, the purpose of the ghost killing team and I are the same. To kill the ancestor of ghosts, Anamai Suji, so I want to show my strength. It also makes each other more trustworthy. While speaking, Lee Yiming took the lead and walked out of the room. Now that she has made a decision, Butterfly Chanahui will not continue to hesitate. She follows to the yard, and stands opposite Lee Yiming, and the two just look at each other face to face. Miss Butterfly, you go first. Lee Yiming didn't draw his sword, but planned to give Butterfly Chanahui a chance. After hearing this sentence, Butterfly Chanahui's gaze became much gentler. This change made Lee Yiming a little confused, but he didn't explain much. It's impossible for him to say, if he shoots first, you have no chance. In that case, I will not be polite. Butterfly Kanae slowly pulled out the Japanese saber from her waist. It was a long pink saber with a very beautiful appearance, and it also gave a girly touch. However, if you are only fooled by the surface of the sun-wheel knife, you will only die silently in the end. Be careful, the breathy talent type hyphenation point safflower. Following Butterfly Shanae's swing of the knife, two arc-shaped slashes struck with irregular trajectories. I don't know if it was Lee Yiming's illusion. He seemed to see falling petals on the blade. The name of the style is worthy of the name. It's a pity that the strength is still too weak. Although she has become a pillar, her strength is not too strong. At least in Lee Yiming's eyes, Butterfly Kanae is full of flaws. This is indeed within his expectations. The current ghost killing team is still too young. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they are out of date. Mingzhu, Shuiju, and Yanju have retired one after another. For the time being, only Yanju, and Fengju are not bad. In the future, Yanju, Shuiju, Lianju and Shaju are just ordinary people or members of the ghost killing team. There is no future strength at all. It is indeed a very troublesome thing to lead such a group of people to fight against Ghost Dance Suji. Very gorgeous combat skills, but both strength and speed are obviously insufficient. It is full of flaws in front of the real strong. Miss Butterfly, you need to be faster. Dodging the 2 slashes sideways, Li Yiming gave some pointers lightly. Under Butterfly Chanahui's astonishing eyes, the sun wheel knife in her hand almost cut off Li Yiming's cheek and chest, but did not cause the latter the slightest damage. Breath of flower Wu Ji type fruitless peony. No thought of giving up. After closing the distance, the Japanese knife in Butterfly Kanae's hand quickly slashed out, and the attack like a peony blooming came from different directions, with a large number of petals rushing towards the face, interfering with the judgment of sight. Breath of the Sun 3 types red mirror of the sun. The high-speed slash blocked all the attacks of Butterfly Kanae. The huge force shook the girl's tiger's mouth numb, and she almost couldn't even hold the sun blade in her hand. Ended. As soon as the words came out, Butterfly Kanae frowned slightly, and was about to change her move, but before she could make a move, she froze in place for an instant, her eyes subconsciously glanced downward. A sun wheel knife exuding a cold glow was already placed on her neck, and the slight tingling sensation made her dare not act rashly. Even if it was just a little closer, the blade in Li Yiming's hand could easily cut through his throat, leaving her dead instantly. The most important point is that Butterfly Kanae didn't notice the opponent's movements at all. No matter what, she is still a pillar. As one of the strongest members of the ghost-killing squad, Chana Wei Butterfly has never been so powerless even in the face of those evil spirits that devour people. I'm afraid the strongest Mr. Sorrowful Yu Xingming is not as powerful as Mr. Li Yiming. So far, Butterfly Kanae probably believed Li Yiming's statement that the other party may not have lied, and the person who appeared in the Wanshi Bliss sect may really be the second of the first string, and he was killed by him. Miss Butterfly, I accept it. Li Yiming slowly retracted the knife, the seriousness on his face dissipated, and a gentle smile appeared again. The sparring just now was nothing more than flashes of lightning, and it didn't take any effort at all. The current Butterfly Shanae's strength is really too weak. I'm afraid it would be a bit embarrassing to deal with the prostitute Taro in the land of the string at this level. Of course there is still no problem in entanglement with Luo Ji. Mr. Li Yiming, I believe your words now. If it were you, it is really possible to defeat the second of the winding. You are really the most powerful human being I have ever seen. For Butterfly Chana Hui's praise, Li Yiming just smiled, shook his head and did not respond. Perhaps in the eyes of the other party, he is very strong, but only he himself knows that the current strength is far from enough, and it is still too weak. However, if it is just to deal with Ghost Mai Suji, it should be enough. Miss Butterfly, now you should believe what I said. I want to meet with the leader of the ghost killing squad and discuss cooperation to deal with Ghost Mai Suji. I have a way to kill him and end the Millennium Curse. I hope it can be conveyed on your behalf. Actually, when I met you, I already sent the news back. Butterfly Chana Wei smiled sweetly, with complex emotions in her eyes. Although I can't bring you in front of the Lord, there is no problem in delivering the message. As for whether the Lord is willing to see you, then I don't know. Quote. It's okay, I'm sure he will agree. As a charismatic head of the household, Yoya Ubuyashiki is more magnanimous than imagined. Just from his willingness to stay as a bait to lure Oniwu Suji to take the bait, it can be seen that as long as he can kill Oniwu Suji and lift the family's Millennium Curse, he is willing to pay any price. I hope so. Butterfly Kanae also hopes that Yuya Ubuyashiki agrees to Li Yiming's request to meet Li Yiming. Such a strong combat power will undoubtedly be a great help when dealing with Oniwu Suji. For some reason, from Li Yiming, she really saw the hope of solving the evil spirits. Even in the depths of her heart, Butterfly Kanae is more eager to allow humans and evil spirits to coexist peacefully, but this is obviously just a luxury. Mother-in-law has finished the meal, and then just wait quietly. Li Yiming nodded, and followed Butterfly Chanahui back into the room. The two continued to talk, and the relationship was quite harmonious. Time passed quietly, and it was midnight in the blink of an eye. At the headquarters of the Demon Slayer squad, Yoya Ubuyashiki received a letter from Butterfly Kanae. At this time, the curse had not penetrated into his bone marrow, the scars on his face were not obvious, and he still retained basic vision. After reading the contents of the letter, this normally gentle man stood up excitedly. Does the boy who uses the special breathing method have the powerful strength to kill the second of the string? The balance between humans and ghosts for thousands of years has finally been broken. Ubuyashiki Yoya showed a warm smile, with obvious joy on his face. As the heirs of the Ubuyashiki clan, their clan has a little ability to foresee the future. Some time ago, he dreamed of some scenes. A young man in silver light armor killed Anamai Sujimu, and all members of the ghost-killing squad knelt down. Thank you, and then there is the scene of singing and dancing, and holding a big banquet. Didn't expect it to come so soon. Butterfly said, does that young man have a way to kill Mumi Anamui Suji? And he wants to cooperate with the ghost-killing team. As long as he can kill Mumi Anamui Suji, even if it costs me my life, no hesitation. The obstetrician Shiki Amane on the side didn't interrupt, but silently stayed by her husband's side, sharing this hard-won joy. Tianyan, help me reply to Butterfly, and ask her to treat Mr. Li Yiming well. In my name, I solemnly invite him to come and tell all the children to come back. Perhaps our decisive battle with Anamai Suji is about to begin. Quote, cut off the chains of hatred, and there will be no more man-eating ghosts. I really look forward to that day. It will definitely be. In our generation. Ubuyashiki Amane held her husband's hand, and the two looked at each other with a smile, silently conveying unspeakable strength, and the bright moonlight shone on them. At this moment, this scene is so warm. Wisteria Flower Family Pattern Place. In the past few days, Li Yiming was teaching Butterfly Chanahui about fighting skills. The girl learned it very seriously. After the sparring, she realized her weakness, and immediately began to practice again. After pleading with Li Yiming for his teaching, the devil training began. Li Yiming has nothing to teach about the technique of the breath of flowers. After all, he doesn't understand it at all, so he can only rely on Butterfly Chanahui to explore it by himself. The only thing he can teach is about Hidao and through the world. Skills, no matter which one is, can greatly improve the combat effectiveness. Perhaps the Hidao doesn't have much effect on other creatures, but to ghosts, it is completely a nemesis. As long as they can suppress the regeneration of ghosts, then they can't trade injuries for injuries so unscrupulously. At this moment, a crow fell from the sky. Butterfly Kanae opened the envelope, and after reading the contents inside, a look of joy suddenly appeared on her face. Mr. Yiming, my lord agreed to your request and solemnly invited you to meet at the headquarters. It's really great. The girl clenched her fists and said happily. The emotion she showed was obviously more agitated than that of Li Yiming. Yes, then don't keep Mr. Ubuyashiki waiting, let's go now. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. The current Butterfly Shanae naturally wouldn't refuse. Dang even stopped the practice of cultivation, retracted the sun wheel knife into the scabbard, turned to the room and began to organize belongings. After a while, the two of them were already standing outside the wisteria flower pattern. The old woman who received them when they came was also standing at the door to see them off, still holding a flint and steel in her hand. Thank you for your hospitality, then we will take our leave, mother-in-law. Master Wazu, you are too serious. Before you leave, please accept the flint and spark. Thank you. Butterfly Chanahui and Li Yiming did not refuse. The blessings of the elderly are often very thoughtful, and they contain their worries and concerns. Of course, they cannot be refused at will. Da. The flints collided together, and sparks flew all over the place. Bless you all with prosperous martial arts, no matter when. Please be proud of yourself and work hard to live. Don't worry, old man, we'll end this. A confident smile appeared on Li Yiming's face. Under the sunlight, the smile looked very dazzling, and the Butterfly Shanae beside her was a little stunned. Later, she was also infected by this confidence, showing the same smile. Ah, we're going to make it, in our generation. After a long journey, they finally arrived at the headquarters of the ghost-killing squad. Finally found this place, which made Li Yiming heave a sigh of relief. Although there were several twists and turns on the way, at least he successfully arrived at the destination, which also meant that he had a new helper. After all, he alone cannot solve all the evil spirits. If the time comes when Ghost Dance Suji Wuyu plays tricks and summons all the evil spirits to carry out crowd tactics, Lee Yiming is really worried that his physical strength will not be able to sustain it, so he cooperates with the ghost-killing team. It is very necessary to do. Here we are, Mr. Yiming, please follow me. Butterfly Kanae took the initiative to lead the way, and the swordsmen of the Ghost Slayer squad who met along the way seemed to have received the order. Everyone bowed slightly towards Lee Yiming and Butterfly Kanae, with an attitude very respectful. After passing through a large courtyard, the two came to a mansion. Looking from a distance, a young man is sitting on the edge, accompanied by a young woman with white hair. Lee Yiming recognized their identities at a glance. The current protagonist of the Demon Slayer squad, Yoya Sanyashiki, and his wife, Amaya Shiki, Amane. However, when seeing the two of them, Lee Yiming's expression was still slightly weird, mainly because a certain time-traveling simulation experience was too outrageous. Now that he sees the parties involved, he is a little cranky. This is not fun to think about. My lord, I brought Mr. Yiming back. Thank you, Butterfly. Yuya Miyashiki turned around slowly, and said softly with gentle eyes, "You are welcome, Mr. Lee Yiming. I am weak and cannot go to greet you in person, please. Don't be offended." Quote, Mr. Ubuyashiki is serious. We are all here to eliminate Anamai Suji, so we don't need to care about those red tapes, and since you have limited mobility, let me come to the door. Visiting is naturally a matter of reason. Quote, Lee Yiming sat not far away familiarly, with a heartfelt smile on his face. Looking at the man in front of him who was about the same age as him, to be honest, Lee Yiming admired him very much. Tortured by the curse, but still smiling at life, not only manages the entire ghost-killing team in an orderly manner, but also remembers the names of all subordinates. For this alone, Yuya Ubuyashiki is a qualified leader. Mr. Lee Yiming is quick to speak, so I won't continue to circle around anymore. I don't know the letter you sent Butterfly, sir, saying that there is a way to kill Guiwu Suji. What is it? Not real. When it came to business, the expressions of everyone around became expectant. Thanks. After receiving the tea from Miyashiki Tianyan, Lee Yiming thanked softly and smiled slightly. Of course it's true, I also want to kill Kimai Suji, so I won't do this again. Just kidding about things. 11. Oh, I would like to hear more about it. Yuya Ubuyashiki forcibly suppressed the excitement in his heart, pricked up his ears and quietly waited for Lee Yiming's next words. Mr. Ubuyashiki should be very clear about the origin of Anamai Sujimu, right? Of course, he is the only disgrace of our Obanyashiki clan. It is because of his existence that our clan is so cursed that we cannot live past 30 years. The marriage of the clan continued. Quote, speaking of this matter, even the mild-mannered Yoshiki Yoya could not keep calm. Obstetrician Shiki Amane, who realized that he was not in the right state, stretched out his hand to hold her husband's hand. His face was full of worry, which brought Miyashiki Yoya back to his senses. Sorry, I lost my composure just now. It doesn't matter, otherwise I would have no bitter hatred for Anamai Suji. Lee Yiming shook his head lightly, expressing his understanding of Yuya Ubuyashiki's reaction. Kimai Suji can't walk in the sun. He has always wanted to overcome this weakness, so the whole world. The world is looking for a plant called Cyan Bianwa, which can make him not afraid of the sun after taking it. Quote, I probably know where the blue bana flower grows. We can use this to lure him out. We can use the cyan flower of the other side to draw the ghost Wusuji out of the darkness. It is so secretive that Yoya Ubuyashiki has to feel Lee Yiming's intelligence ability. You must know that the reason why he knows the situation of Kiwusuji is also known from the books handed down from generation to generation by the Ubayashiki family. Related content about Ghost Mai Suji Mukin's transformation from human to ghost. There are indeed some records about the blue bana flower, but it is not comprehensive. I only know that there is this thing, but where it grows and how long the growth cycle is, I have no way of knowing. Unexpectedly, Lee Yiming actually knew where the blue bianwa grows. It is really incredible. So that's the case, then we need to act as soon as possible. If Guiwu Suji is the first to find the blue higan flower and swallow it, and overcome the last weakness, I'm afraid no one will be able to kill him. Don't worry, He can't find it. The blue Manhwa flower will only bloom during the day, and only 2 or 3 days a year, and it will wither at night, and it can only fully bloom when it shines on the sun. It's impossible to find in a lifetime. Lee Yiming couldn't help but shook his head with a smile, expressing his pity for Guiwu Suji. This ghost king probably never dreamed that he cut off his own way of life and killed the doctor who treated him with his own hands. Even if he knew the existence of the blue Manhwa flower, he would never get it in his life. Not only the growth environment is very harsh, but also the storage conditions are extremely harsh. If you are not careful, it will completely wither and lose its effect completely. God destined that he could only walk in the dark all his life. Is that so? Mr. Lee Yiming is thoughtful, but I am a little unfounded. Yoya Miyashiki laughed at himself, and at the same time, there was a burst of joy in his heart. I really want to see what kind of expression Ghost My Suji will show when he hears the news. 653. I'll let the children below go get the blue Manhwa flower back. Don't worry, I just know where it grew. No one knows whether it has grown or not now, and I'm not so anxious. I have been confronting Guiwu Suji for so long, and it's not less than 10.5 days. It's been a month, let's discuss how to defeat them first. Raising his hand to stop Yaoya Miyashiki, Lee Yiming poured cold water on him mercilessly. After all, the blue Higan flower is just a way to lure him, and we still have to fight in the end. If we can't kill Ghost Dance Suji, then the Demon Slayer team will be destroyed, and he will no longer have any weaknesses. Speaking of this, Lee Yiming's eyes became deep, and his tone was equally meaningful. Mr. Ubuyashiki, if this is the case, are you still willing to let the entire ghost-killing team cooperate with me? If you accidentally fail in the end, then human beings may really fall into the rule of Anamai Suji. Quote. Butterfly Kanae and Ubuyashiki Amane, who acted silently as observers, also became tense involuntarily, as if thinking of that scene. The expressions of the two women became extremely unnatural. This almost gambling-like choice is really too difficult to choose. Lee Yiming's eyes stayed on Yaoya Miyashiki. He wanted to see how this man would choose. However, the latter's expression has not changed at all from the beginning to the end. Even hearing that the so-called ghost-killing team has been destroyed, and that Oniwu Sujiwuma became the real Ghost King, did not shake his determination. Mr. Lee Yiming, you don't have to scare me. Although I don't want to see that happen, and I am afraid of failure, but that is not a reason to stop moving forward. I believe that even if we fail today, the ghost-killing team will not cut off in my hands. There will always be someone who will carry the banner and complete the things we have not completed. Now that there is such a good opportunity in front of us, if we still choose to look forward and backward, then I, Yuya Ubuyashiki, am ashamed of the ancestors of the Yoyabuyashiki clan, and I am also ashamed of what I have done to the heroic spirits of the Demon Slayer squad. So, Mr. Lee Yiming, let's kill that guy together and end the 1,000 years of hatred. Plain words give people a feeling of impassioned. Looking at the man in front of him, Lee Yiming remained silent, with deep appreciation in his eyes. He probably understands now why it is not unreasonable why Yoya Yoshiki, the obstetrician in front of him, can make all the members of the Demon Slayer squad respect him so much when he is only in his twilight years. Similarly, another thought appeared in Lee Yiming's mind. It's a pity that such an outstanding talent is wasted like this. If the curse on him can be lifted and the physical damage can be cured, maybe he can be brought back to Olili. At least in terms of family management, this is indeed a rare talent. However, these are things that need to be considered in the future. The most urgent task right now is to kill Anamai Sujimu, and strive to obtain the final S-level evaluation in the real-life simulation. If there is no way to do this, then no matter how much you think about it now, no good. Sounds are really inspirational, but you can't kill Anamui Sujimuyu just by talking. I fought against Kamizuji and killed him by luck. To be honest, his strength is terrible. At least he is serious. Miss Butterfly can't be his match. If the current ghost-killing team is used to deal with Mumai Suji and his man-eating ghosts, I don't see a chance of winning, so before that, we must first carry out targeted training. Lee Yiming's words were extremely sharp, but the others had nothing to refute. On the contrary, Yoya Ubuyashiki nodded lightly. Since Mr. Lee Yiming said so, there must be a way to strengthen the strength of the demon-killing team, right? Otherwise, you would not be able to come here with full confidence to propose cooperation. If it was you, special training for the children of the ghost killing squad will definitely help them a lot. Special training or something. I can't help too much, I can only teach them a few skills, penetrating the world, stripes and hidao, all are sharp weapons to enhance strength and deal with ghosts, it depends on how long they need able to grasp. Li Yiming didn't reject the proposal of Yuya Ubuyashiki, but Li Yiming didn't intend to be someone else's teacher either. It is impossible for him to spend all the time here in the ghost killing squad, there are still some places that need to be visited. I have already taught Miss Butterfly how to activate these skills, but I cannot guarantee whether they can learn them successfully. It's okay, I believe in the children of Ghost Slayer, they won't let us down. In addition, I have seen a ghost that escaped from the control of Anawu Suji. It is good at medical skills and often treats human diseases. If possible, it is best to contact her and develop some methods to suppress Anawu Suji. Ghosts also have effective drugs, which will increase our chances of winning. Li Yiming suddenly thought of something, and put Zushi on the bright side again. Yuya Miyashiki was not surprised, but nodded lightly. You are talking about Ms. Zushi, right? She also has contact with me occasionally, so let me convey it. Well, this is a little blood I collected from Tongmo, I hope it can help Miss Zushi. As he spoke, Li Yiming took out a tube of blood from his bosom, and handed it to the hand of the obstetrician Shiki Yaoya. The latter chuckled and said, it's really a great help. It's a blessing for our Ghost Slayer squad and human beings to get your help, Mr. Li Yiming. On behalf of the Ghost Slayer squad, I thank you for your efforts. No, let's wait until we kill Ghost Dance Suji Mumi. Shaking his head lightly, Li Yiming slowly stood up from the ground. Mr. Ubuyashiki should hurry up and notify the members of the Demon Slayer team to come back for joint training. I will leave here in 2 days and go to other places to find the Blue Hegan flower. The planting location, the opportunity is fleeting, if you miss it, you can only wait another year. Therefore, everyone in the ghost killing squad should take good care of it. Don't worry, I have notified all the children to come back in advance, I believe they will all arrive tonight, and then they can start special training, and you will definitely not be disappointed. For the children of his family, Yan Yashikuya showed full confidence. Regarding this point, Li Yiming also believed it very much, nodded and did not continue to say anything. In that case, I will take my leave first. Okay, I have been exhausted all the way, and I really need to rest more. I want Mr. Li Yiming to stay in the Dai house temporarily, and I will trouble you to take care of it. Butterfly Shanae, who had been silent for a long time, hurriedly stood up and nodded, yes, my lord, I will take good care of Mr. Yiming, then we will leave first, my lord, take care of yourself. After slightly bowing towards Yoya Shiki, Butterfly Kanae took Li Yiming and left the mansion. It wasn't until the figures of the two of them disappeared completely that Yoya Ubuyashiki looked away. At this time, his mood can be described as extremely joyful. After such a long time, he finally saw that he could end the fate of thousands of years. There is nothing more exciting than this. Yaozai, Mr. Li Yiming knows too much, I'm afraid. He is really proficient in news, he even knows about Ms. Zushi, and even the things about Ms. Zushi's relationship with me. It is really hard not to make people feel suspicious. Ubayashiki Amane's words made Ubayashiki Yaoya nodded slightly, then looked at the sky, feeling the warmth of the sun, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. But so what? No matter how he knows these things, it will not affect our cooperative relationship. I can feel that he really wants to kill Ghost Mai Suji. As for other things, it is not important at all, maybe he is a messenger sent by the gods. Speaking of this, Yoya Ubuyashiki couldn't help laughing himself. However, he probably won't know that his joking words have already guessed Li Yiming's origins quite closely. Tianyan, we will see that day come, the day when Ghost Mai Suji is wiped out. After leaving the Sanyashiki mansion, Li Yiming followed Butterfly Kanae to Butterfly House. Mr. Yiming, this is the Butterfly House, the medical institution of the Ghost Killing Squad, which provides treatment and rehabilitation for injured team members. Ah, it's really beautiful. Li Yiming couldn't help but sigh with emotion in the surrounding environment of singing birds and fragrant flowers. As expected of a hospital, this kind of quieter place is really needed so that the injured can recover faster. Entering the front yard, Two figures are discussing here, both of them are women. One of them is similar in appearance to Butterfly Shanae, and the other is cuter. Both of them have the same characteristic, that is, they are always expressionless, but in comparison, one is serious and the other is indifferent. To be precise, I don't know how to express my emotions more accurately. Butterflies endure, chestnut flowers fall to Chanel. Both of them are very young at this time, no matter in terms of age or compatibility. Lihua Luoxiangnai is obviously more immature. Although she is fighting with Butterfly Ninja, anyone with a discerning eye can see that the latter is releasing water. Lihua Luoxiangnai is fighting completely based on an intuition. The talent is quite good, but it didn't succeed in making this talent into real capabilities. Shinobu, Kanai, I'm back. Butterfly Kanai's voice sounded quietly, which made the two girls who were fighting seriously stop their movements instantly, and at the same time look towards the door of Butterfly House. The next moment, Butterfly Ninja showed a clear smile on his face. Sister, you are back. Didn't you go to investigate the matter of Wan Shi Bliss? Butterfly Ren ran all the way to the front of Butterfly Chanaway, only then noticed Li Yiming. The smile on his face disappeared in an instant, and he turned into that picture of not getting close to strangers again. Sister, who is he? Shin Ren, you can't be rude. Gently knocking on her sister's forehead, Butterfly Kanae gave a brief introduction. This is Mr. Li Yiming, a distinguished guest invited by the Lord. Live in Butterfly House, Shinobu, you and Kanae, don't neglect, do you understand? Understood, sister. Butterfly endured holding his forehead and nodded. Butterfly Kanae is not dead now, so although Butterfly Shinobi at the current stage is more serious, it is not as difficult as changing to the future. Li Waluo Shangnai on the side also nodded slightly, but did not speak. Hey, seeing this scene, Butterfly Chanahui could only sigh helplessly, and without saying anything, she took Li Yiming into the Butterfly House. After personally arranging the accommodation for him, he politely closed the door and walked out. Lying on the bed, looking at the strange ceiling, Li Yiming let out a long sigh of relief. So far, all the plans have gone very smoothly. Next, we only need to find the blue flower of the other side, and wait for the pillars of the ghost-killing team to improve their strength a little, then we can start to advance. It's the final decisive battle. The pillars of the ghost-killing team don't need to be too strong, as long as they can hold back the 12 ghost moons and ensure their own safety. Perhaps we need to give more training time. If the pillars die because of lack of strength, that would be a bad idea. Also about the green bana flower, I hope Zaom and Faji's family won't let me down. Muttering to himself softly, Li Yiming slowly closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, Li Yiming learned of Zhongju's return from Butterfly Shanae. Since the special training is going to officially start, it is natural for him, the chief instructor, to come forward and pass on the opening methods of the penetrating world, Hidao and Zebra by the way. I really count on Butterfly Chanel Wei, the efficiency is too low. As Li Yiming imagined, since there are still 4 full years before the start of the plot, there are only a few pillars of the ghost-killing team at present, which is really in the stage of being incomplete. The sound column can also be called Brother Gorgeous, Yusui Tianyuan. The rock pillar is also the strongest pillar, Morning Yu Xingming. Wind pillar, Immortal Kawashia. Snake column, Inside Yihei Fennel. Style, Butterfly Shanae. In addition, there are swordsmen with more potential. The future Yenju Purgatory Xingxolang and Chongzu Butterfly Shinobi have joined the practice. This is already one of the few assets of the ghost-killing team. Mizuzuki and Naruju, who had already retired, applied to return to the front line after learning the news, but they were rejected by Yuya Miyashiki. These trainers are here to stay. Tinder, if they fail, then it will be up to them afterwards. At the beginning, Kawashimi did not approve of Li Yiming's strength, and he calmed down after being beaten up, and started to practice quietly. After teaching him a young bird, the other man gradually quieted down. After learning about their future plans, none of them felt afraid, and even more excitedly devoted themselves to cultivation. This is the ghost-killing team. In order to kill all evil spirits and protect human beings, they can sacrifice their own lives. Li Yiming was also gradually infected by these cute guys, and spared no effort to teach them about the penetrating world, Hidao, and even Zebra's knowledge every day. The progress has been great, and it can almost be described as changing with each passing day. In fact, he can actively activate other people's stripes, but he has not made up his mind. Until this day, Akuyazai suddenly sent someone to bring news. Yiming, the Lord has sent someone to send the news, the place you mentioned has been found. In the Zuhei training ground, Li Yiming, who was strictly supervising everyone's training, turned around, and beside him was Butterfly Chanahui with a joyful smile on his face. Oh, yeah, I finally found it. The corners of Li Yiming's lips curled up slightly, and his expression gradually relaxed. For half a month, he stayed at the headquarters of the ghost killing squad to train the guys in front of him. Although he lived a fulfilling life every day and achieved remarkable results, he always felt a little bored. The life in front of me is really exhausting. However, Butterfly Kanae brought a nice piece of good news, and then you can move on. Has the specific location been clarified? Li Yiming asked softly. Well, Butterfly Shanae nodded. Wyan has brought news that the place is not far from the headquarters of our ghost killing team, and it will take about a few days to reach it. If you go all out, the time may be even shorter. Shall we go now? Of course, the fact is that I'm going alone is enough. That's okay, I can help, and I can take care of you if there is any emergency on the road. Butterfly Chana Wei looked at Li Yiming nervously. After a moment of hesitation, Li Yiming still nodded softly in agreement. Okay, there's no problem if you want to go together, but you still have to bring your sister, isn't she proficient in pharmacy? You may need her help for the preservation of the blue bana flower. I'll call Shinobu right now. The butterfly-like girl showed joy from the bottom of her heart, as if she was afraid of Li Yiming's repentance. After leaving this sentence, she hurriedly turned and ran towards Butterfly Ninja, who was working hard. The butterfly-like feathers and the bouncing figure make it look really confusing. Li Yiming shook his head with a chuckle, and his eyes became gentle. During these half a month, he and Butterfly Chana Wei often stayed together, and the relationship between the two became very special, and he had a panoramic view of the girl's every move. There is no initiative, no rejection, everything is so silent. I don't know what the future will be like, but right now, just let it be. Leaving Zhongju behind for devil training, Li Yiming brought two sisters, Butterfly Chanahui and Butterfly Ninja, and rushed to a familiar mountain. Kamado Tanjiro's family lived in this place. It should be said to be very lucky, if it wasn't for the fact that the neon is not so big, and the information network of the ghost killing squad is larger than imagined, Li Yiming alone might not be able to find this place. However, as long as there are specific names and identity characteristics, it will not be particularly difficult to find them. A group of 3 people walked quickly into the mountains and forests, but the expression on Dai Dai Ren's face was slightly serious, and he looked at Yao Yiming with complicated eyes from time to time. The appearance of this man changed even her favorite elder sister, it was really disgusting. If the other party is not a distinguished guest of the Lord of the Ghost Killing Squad, I am afraid that according to Butterfly Ninja's personality, she would have faced swords and swords a long time ago, so how could she follow out so obediently? Even so, Butterfly Shinobu still doesn't give a good face. Li Yiming probably couldn't have guessed in his dreams, but Butterfly Ninja would actually have this idea in his heart. After a careful search, although the mountain in front of them was very large, Li Yiming and others still found the home of Zaoman Tanjiro with great precision. Kuiji Zaoman, who hadn't changed her clothes for thousands of years, was mending something at the door. When she noticed Li Yiming and others coming, this kind and simple woman stood up straight. Hello, what are you doing here? You are Mrs. Zaoman, right? We are here from another city. Butterfly Chana Wei stepped forward and responded with the same gentle smile. Zaoman Kuiji was obviously frightened by Butterfly Kanae's words. She repeatedly confirmed that she didn't know these 3 young people, and she became even more confused. The act of keeping a respectful distance, on the contrary, sent out a warm invitation. Several guests come in first, let's talk. Then bother you. Follow Kuiji at the stove door and enter the room, which is where the plot begins. As soon as he entered the house, 6 little radish heads instantly appeared in Li Yiming's eyes. The appearance of these little guys was very similar to that of Zaoman Kuiji. Among them, a man and a woman were the oldest, although they looked young, but they could still be recognized. Their identities are Head Pillar, Kamado Tanjiro and Ghost Pillar, Kamado Nezuko. The little guys looked at Lee Yiming and Butterfly Chanahui, with puzzled expressions in their eyes. Mom, who are these guests? Kamado Tanjiro asked softly. These are distinguished guests from big cities who came here to visit us. Tanjiro, please take Nezuko and the others outside to play for a while. With a deep apology on his face, Aoi Kamado said while stroking Tanjiro Kamado's head. Maybe there is still the meaning of protecting her own child in it. Although she is kind, she is not stupid. Although the three young people in front of her have good intentions, they cannot determine the specific intention of coming, so before everything is clear, let it safer for kids to go out and play. Tanjiro will take care of them. I see, Mom. Tanjiro Zaman nodded obediently, and at the same time gave Lee Yiming three people a glance, and then pulled his younger brothers and sisters out of the house. Kamado Tanjiro, who has a magical sense of smell since he was a child, can naturally smell the smell of his mother, but because he didn't smell the dangerous smell from Lee Yiming and others, he chose to obey his mother's words. However, he will not run too far. If something happens at home, you can run back as soon as possible. What Tanjiro Kamado didn't know was that Lee Yiming had a panoramic view of all his actions, and the obvious appreciation in his eyes was worthy of being called the most gentle but not a virgin. Compared with a certain rabbit, Tanjiro Kamado can probably be called a real hero. Come with me, 3, and I will take you to meet my husband. Withdrawing their gaze, several people continued to follow behind Kuiji at the stove door until they reached the end of the room. As the sliding window opened, a few slight coughing sounds happened to be heard inside. A thin, pale man was sitting under the quilt, looking towards the door. Kuiji, who are these? Just when Zaoman Kuiji was about to explain, Lee Yiming stepped forward first, and chose to speak. Mr. Zaoman, please excuse me, my name is Lee Yiming, and I came to visit you specially. These two are Butterfly Kanae and Butterfly Shinobi, both of whom are ghost hunters of the ghost killing squad. Ghost Slayer. Kamado Tanjiro was slightly stunned by the unfamiliar yet familiar term. The time is too long. The Zaoman family knew the existence of ghosts, and the Zaoman ancestors Tanji and Zhu Mizi were hunted down by ghosts, and finally survived when they met Ji Guoyuani. It is also for this reason that the Zaoman family passed down the sun's breath and earrings inherited from Ji Guoyuani from generation to generation, and even entrusted the existence of haunted ghosts to future generations. It's just because the inheritance is too long, and the records about ghosts are gradually cut off, but Kamado Tanjiro still remembers that the old man once said that there are monsters that eat people in the forest at night. But as long as you dance Kagura, the god of fire will bless you. Seemingly seeing Tanjiro Zaoman's doubts, Lee Yiming immediately explained. He first briefly described the situation of the Demon Slayer squad, then he told about the relationship between Ji Guoyuani and the Zaoman family, and finally he took out the breath of the sun, which convinced Kamado Tanjiro completely. In reality, it is really not an easy thing to make others believe what you say. I really don't know how the other self did it when he was doing the time-traveling simulation. Is this the difference between the so-called high EQ and low EQ? I didn't expect Kagura, the god of fire, to have such a history. I really learned a lot today, cough cough. Before he could say a few words, Kamado Tanjiro began to cough violently. Because of the stripes on his head, even if they were not fully opened, they were still consuming his vitality. Even if he broke the 25-year-old limit, he wouldn't be able to live for too long. From the beginning to the end, there was only one man who died after turning on his stripes. Mr. Zaoman, are you okay? Butterfly Kanae was frightened by Zaoman Tanjiro's appearance, and said with some concern, is there something wrong with you? It just so happens that my younger sister knows some medical skills, why don't you let her help you? Just check it out, maybe it will help you. Thank you Miss Butterfly for your kindness, but don't bother, this is already an old problem. With the help of Zaoman Kuiji, Zaoman Tanjiro finally regained his strength, with a thankful smile on his face. Many doctors have also seen for me, but none of them can do anything, and I'm used to this life, so I don't bother you anymore. This, Butterfly Kanae didn't know what to say. The patient is unwilling to cooperate with the treatment, even if the doctor has great abilities, he can't change his fate against the sky. Don't say it, Kanae, what Mr. Zaoman said is right. It's not a disease that can't be cured by Shinobu. It's because the stripes are killing his life, so he is getting weaker and weaker. Generally, people who have stripes they can't live to be 25 years old, but because Mr. Zaoman's stripes haven't been fully opened, they can last until now, but Li Yiming didn't say the following words, but the meaning was already very obvious. Zaoman Kuiji's expression became dim, and his eyes were filled with tears, but Kamado Tanjiro was as calm as ever, with a smile on his mouth, as if he didn't care about his own life or death. So that's the case. I was worried about some disease in the family, and I was afraid it would affect Tanjiro and the others, but now I can feel at ease after hearing this. I'm afraid it's too early for you to feel at ease. Li Yiming recalled that when he saw Kotoman Tanjiro at the door, there was already a scar on his forehead. If there is no accident, it is also destined to open the markings. However, there may be a solution later on. After all, Olali is called the Labyrinth City, and it is also the capital of the gods. It is not a problem to solve the loss of vitality, the premise is that you can find the right people to help. I think those gods who are good at making potions should have a way. Okay, don't talk about me anymore, but Mr. Li Yiming, you have come here from a long distance, do you need our help with something important? After comforting his wife, Kamado Tanjiro brought the topic back on track. Sister Butterfly immediately sat upright, her expression became very serious. Li Yiming was not polite, and nodded directly. It is true that there is something that needs Mr. Kitchen Door's help. I wonder if you have seen a magical plant on this mountain again. This kind of food will only be open during the day, to be exact said to be in the sunlight. Shoots are in full bloom and only grow a few days each year. Plants that bloom during the day. Zaoman Tanjiro didn't know much about these Zaoman Tanjiro, but Zaoman Iji on the side showed a thoughtful face, as if recalling all the plants he had seen in his mind. Li Yiming did not urge him, but patiently waited for the other party to think. Excuse me, Mr. Li Yiming, are you talking about a kind of green licorice? After repeated memories, Zaoman Kuiji did think of a relatively similar plant, but he was not sure whether it was what the other party needed, so he described it again. It is a very special kind of licorice. The color has never been seen before, it was picked by Nezuko back then, I thought it was a weed, did not expect it to be such an important thing. And this kind of green licorice is indeed like what you said, Mr. Li Yiming, it will only bloom on a few specific days of the year, and it will wither at night. If it wasn't for you. I almost forgot about today's reminder. Received an affirmative reply from Zaoman Iji. Butterfly Kanae and Butterfly Shinobu showed obvious expressions of excitement on their faces. Li Yiming remained calm, and nodded with a smile. If there is no accident, that is what we are looking for, but we call it the blue bana flower, if the ghost general. If it is taken, it can be immune to the weakness of the sun, and even the sun wheel knife may not be able to kill it. We want to use it to draw out the ancestor of ghosts. Quote, Mrs. Zaoman, you really helped me a lot. No, I didn't help much, and we didn't know the function of that thing at all. We used to pick it as a wild vegetable and eat it. If we knew how precious it was, it will not do that. Quote, facing Li Yiming's praise, Zaoman Kuiji waved his hands in a panic. Hearing this, the corners of Sister Butterfly's eyes twitched slightly. The treasure that Guiwu Suji pursued for thousands of years was actually eaten as a wild vegetable. I don't know how the ancestor of ghosts will feel after knowing the news. You must be going crazy with anger and jealousy. But no matter what, the blue Higan flower has also been found, so it is not a problem to lure Oniwu Suji out. Their ghost-killing team will definitely kill this evil person with their own hands. Mr. Li Yiming, what do you mean by leading out the ancestor of ghosts? Compared with Zaoman Kuiji's embarrassment, Zaoman Tanjiro grasped the point directly. He also learned a lot about ghosts from Li Yiming's mouth, which made the three. The green licorice, which people value so much, is obviously not a simple item, which also makes him, who is extremely ill, full of curiosity. It's actually like this, Mr. Zaoman. Due to being too excited, Butterfly Kanae did not hide anything and revealed the plan of the ghost-killing team, including the decisive battle with Ghost Dance Jiwoo in the near future. After hearing these words, Kamado Tanjiro was instantly in awe. I didn't expect that the ghost-killing squad was actually doing such a great thing in a place that people don't know. It's really embarrassing. I don't know if this operation can bring me and let my cruel. The broken body also tried its best. Quote, Tanjiro, Kuiji from Zaoman suddenly exclaimed. She originally wanted to stop her, but when she saw her husband's firm and gentle eyes, she could no longer utter the words of refusal, and there were only endless worries. Brother Li Yiming also said before that the god of fire Kagura of our Zaoman family comes from the ancestor of Ji Guiwan, who was once the main force of the ghost-killing team and almost killed the ghost dance. The existence of Suji Wuma, since he passed on this power to the ancestors of the Zaoman, he naturally wanted future generations to be able to accomplish what he said he had accomplished. Quote, speaking of this, Kamado Tanjiro's expression became very gentle, as if he had seen through life and death. Because of the influence of stripes, I don't have much time left to live. I don't want my children and others to face the danger of being killed by ghosts, so at least I can still move. Time, do your best. Quote, I don't know if it's okay. Li Yiming remained silent, and his gaze stayed on Kamado Tanjiro. He now understands the meaning of a sentence, great people are not born great, but become great in the process of growing up. Chapter 71. If this is your wish, Mr. Zaoman, then I have no reason to refuse. After a moment of silence, Li Yiming finally agreed to Kamado Tanjiro's request, even though the opponent didn't know any combat skills at the moment, but he had no reason to stop him. Who can stop the young samurai from going to die? They can't hear. Thank you so much. Kamado Tanjiro showed a gentle expression as always, although he could see his reluctance for his wife and children from his eyes, but he still did not regret it. Perhaps this is to use the last flame of life to illuminate the way forward for future generations. If you can create a safer living environment for your wife and children in the remaining time, you will not hesitate to sacrifice your life. Of course, this may be cruel to Kamado Tanjiro and Kamado Tanjiro. But where there are so many perfections in the world, there are often joys and sorrows, even the gods are powerless to change, this is life. Kanae, Shinobu, let's go out first. Li Yiming greeted Sister Butterfly in a soft voice, and left the bedroom, leaving this limited time to the couple Zaoman Tanjiro and Zaoman Kuiji. With Kamado Tanjiro's body, after the final decisive battle, there is no guarantee that he will survive. At this time, don't bother them. Walking out of Zaoman's wooden house, Zaoman Tanjiro and others were standing obediently not far away. When they saw the three of them appear, the 6 little carrot heads stood up immediately and walked quickly into the house. Maybe I want to see the specific situation of my parents. Li Yiming doesn't care about the existence of these little ghosts now, mainly because they are too young. Even Tanjiro Kamado, who is the protagonist, is very young now, and there is no need to pay too much attention. Maybe he will be very important in the future. Potential, but forget it for now. Yiming, do you think we can defeat Ghost Dance? Butterfly Chana Wei has come to Li Yiming's side at some point, and the girl's delicate face is full of uneasy emotions. Because of the words between Zaoman Tanjiro and Zaoman Aoi, she fell into deep worry. If such a huge battle fails accidentally, I am afraid that Onawusuji will have no way to solve it. At that time, countless human beings will die. That kind of picture makes Butterfly Kanae feel deep fear. An extreme idea even appeared in her mind. Maybe it seems good as it is now, at least there is the existence of the ghost-killing team, which can protect most human beings. Kanae, believe me, and I also believe in the ghost-killing team, we will kill Onamai Sujimu, and the hatred of thousands of years will come to an end in our generation. Li Yiming stretched out his hands to embrace Butterfly Chana Wei into his arms, with a gentle and firm tone. Feeling the scorching heat, Butterfly Shanae, who was still uneasy, quickly calmed down, and subconsciously wrapped her hands around Li Yiming's back, her cheeks turned slightly rosy. The two hugged each other like other people, only Dai Ninja's face was getting darker and darker. She felt that her sister really wanted to get away from her. After the Zaoman family came over slowly, they began to pack their luggage. Kamado Tanjiro wanted to participate in the battle against Onamai Sujimu. Kamado Aoi didn't want her husband to face such a dangerous thing alone, so she decided to move to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer squad. Even if they couldn't participate in battle, at least it can provide logistical help. After hearing the news, Li Yiming could only nod his head in agreement. Anyway, when the time comes, just arrange them directly among the support staff of the Demon Slayer squad, and then evacuate with them for refuge. I believe that Yuya Yasuya will not refuse. After all, I found such a powerful helper for him. Even if the current Kamado Tanjiro doesn't know the combat skills that are required by the breath of the sun, he can dance the blessing dance over time. He is already very familiar with the dance pattern of the breath of the sun, and he can learn it with just guidance, and he has a penetrating world. With the blessing of Kamado Tanjiro, the strength of Kamado Tanjiro may be far beyond imagination. Under the leadership of Zaoman Nezuko, he successfully found the location of the blue Bana flower. The preservation method of the blue Higan flower is beyond his imagination. According to Nezuko, although this plant will only bloom for a few days in a year, and it will wither completely if it cannot be exposed to sunlight, but as long as it is picked, it can be stored for a long time. However, the only disadvantage is that the picked blue Bana flowers do not have the possibility of replanting. However, this is undoubtedly good news for mankind. Bringing a cyan Bana flower, a group of people embarked on the road back to the ghost-killing squad. Since there were a lot of people on the way back, and there were children, it took a little longer. By the time I got back to the headquarters of the ghost-killing squad, another week had passed. Arrange Komoda Tanjiro into the training team, and the rest of the Zaoman family will enter the Butterfly House, temporarily acting as logistics staff, providing help to the Demon Slayer team within their capabilities. After finishing all this, Li Yiming went straight to the backyard of Butterfly House. During the time they were away, Zushi received a letter from Yoya Ubuyashiki, and deliberately concealed his body and rushed to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer squad from Asakusa, Tokyo. Meeting this intellectual woman for the first time, Li Yiming was still shocked by her beautiful appearance. Miss Zushi, thank you for making a special trip. No, it's my honor to be trusted by members of the Demon Slayer squad and to invite us to participate in the action against Ghost Mai Suji. As gentle as the image in memory, even the words are soft. Zhu Shi leaned back slightly, his eyes flashed with excitement. I heard from Mr. Uyashiki that Tong Mo's blood was provided by Mr. Li Yiming. It's great. Contains a large amount of Onamui Suji's blood. With his blood as the research material, I can develop a poison that weakens Onamui Suji in at most 2 months. I have always believed in your medical skills, Miss Zushi, but my suggestion is to first research the poison that prevents him from splitting. Weakening him is not the goal. The most important thing is to prevent him from escaping. As for weakening the ghost poison, as long as it is researched to the extent that it affects the winding ghost. Li Yiming shook his head lightly, and gave Zushi some advice. Compared with Oni Wusuji's strength, the opponent's ability to escape is even more dreadful. Even Ji Guiwanyi, who is known as the strongest demon slayer blade, couldn't stop Gui Wusuji from escaping miserably in his heyday, and Li Yiming didn't have the confidence to chop up all 1,800 pieces of meat. Hearing this sentence, Zhu Shi seemed a little hesitant. She is the only one who knows how powerful Oni Mai Suji is. If you only limit its division without weakening its strength, it will be difficult to kill it completely with the strength of the demon-killing team. Suddenly, Zhu Shi even began to doubt whether he was right to come here. She has already begun to think about whether to dissuade Yoshiki Yoya from giving up this plan. As if seeing what Zhu Shi was thinking, Li Yiming smiled lightly, and he was not in a hurry to prove his strength, but added, Miss Zhu Shi, if you are really worried, you can study 2 poisons at the same time, as long as you don't if it's too much trouble. I see, I will develop both poisons. Zhu Shi was undoubtedly relieved by Li Yiming's change of words, which at least proved that the man in front of him was not a blind and arrogant person, so coupled with various preparations, it was not impossible to kill Gui Wusuji Wuken. Of course there is no problem. The ghost-killing squad also has people who are good at disposing poison. They will cooperate with you unconditionally. Miss Zhu Shi, I look forward to your good news. Zhu Shi bowed again, and then left the room with Yushiro. Time waits for no one, and the poison that suppresses Oni Wusuji's split, the poison that weakens Oni Wusuji's strength, and the medicine that turns ghosts back into humans must be manufactured in the shortest possible time. She has been waiting for hundreds of years, but now she doesn't want to wait any longer. With the assistance of Butterfly Ninja and Tong Mo's blood, I believe that these 3 potions will be made soon, and by that time, it will be the time to launch a decisive battle. I really hope that day will come soon. In this way, the ghost-killing squad was completely invisible for 2 full months. The high-end combat power has undergone a qualitative leap during this period. Baiming Yu Xingming and Ihe Xiaobanei have successfully entered the highest realm and mastered the power to penetrate the world. Very limited. It's a pity that the few remaining people failed to open the transparent world, and the Hidao can only be opened by the impact of weapons caused by full force, and its strength is slightly inferior. Among them, the most powerful change is Kamado Tanjiro. Don't look at his terminally ill and fragile appearance, but after he learned the God of Fire Kagura from Li Yiming, that is, the supporting combat skills of the Breath of the Sun, just the moment he holds the Sun Wheel knife, the He knife will be opened immediately. As a result, his strength has also been horribly increased. Apart from Li Yiming, even Yenju Baimingyu Xingming was no match for him. This undoubtedly made everyone in the ghost-killing team more excited and more confident about the upcoming final battle. So, in such an anxious wait and torment, everyone was looking forward to the most important step. On this day, almost everyone stopped training and gathered around Dai Wu. The most irritable Fengju Bushikawa Minami kept walking back and forth, with impatience written all over her face. Deliberately wanting to open the door to ask about the progress, but afraid of disturbing the research of Zushi and Butterfly Ninja, he could only shake his hands and repeat the back and forth movements. Li Yiming on the side rolled his eyes angrily, feeling a little bad all over. Squeak. Before he had an attack, the door of the butterfly house was opened from the inside. Almost everyone at the scene looked in the same direction, and saw Zushi and Butterfly Shinobu's faces were full of exhaustion, but more of it was joy that could not be concealed. Facing a large number of eyes on the scene, the two of them looked at each other, and then said in unison, "Everyone, fortunately, we succeeded. Great, I finally waited until this day, the final battle. Amitabha. This time, we must kill all the ghosts." Everyone issued declarations one after another, exuding a sky-high aura. Even Yoya Miyashiki clasped his hands tightly together, unaware that the flesh in his palm was pierced by nails. The only person on the scene who could keep calm was Li Yiming. Then, "Mr. Ubayashiki, I will leave it to you to inform Onamai Suji. That Tien Spider Mountain is the old lair of the next string. Onamai Suji can see the picture of Oni before he dies. We will wait for him at that place. Well, I believe this news will definitely make him lose his ability to judge. Oh, he's sure to get the message." Ubuyashiki Yoya let go of his clenched hands, his eyes swept over everyone in front of him, with a touch of worry and encouragement in his eyes, until he glanced at the last person. "Child, ladies and gentlemen, the next one will be the decisive battle with Onamai Suji. He is very powerful and has countless evil spirits under his command. This is an extremely difficult battle. Some of you are very. You may die, but future generations will forever extol your deeds today. Quote, I remember the names of each of you. If you die in this battle, the Ghost Killing Squad will take care of your family and pay homage to you every year. Your blood will never be shed in vain. If this battle ends in our defeat, then as the Lord, I will definitely not live alone, and I will personally give thanks in front of the tombs of all of you. Sin, I will live and die with you, so, please, everyone, must kill Onamai Sujimu." After the words fell, Yoya Miyashiki stood up and bowed deeply to everyone. The members of the Ghost Killing Squad knelt down on one knee, their voices tore through the sky. "Don't worry, my lord, we will definitely kill Ghost Mai Sujimu and end the Millennium War. Hatred, I trust you guys, everything shoots." Yuya Ubuyashiki smiled at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were also filled with a touch of crystal, and then looked at Li Yiming. The latter nodded lightly with a faint smile on his face, then glanced at the crowd, and said loudly, "All units participating in the battle should go down and prepare, bring the poison that weakens the evil spirits, within half an hour. Afterwards, set off for Nation Spider Mountain." Yes. Hearing this, everyone nodded excitedly. Pucci. As the blade slid across, Wu Lei's neck was separated from his body. When his body slowly dissipated, Li Yiming directly took out a jade box and partially opened the lid. "Ghost Dance Suji Wuma, I know you have been looking for the blue flower of the other side. I happen to have what you dream of here. I will wait for you at the Spider Mountain in that field. Don't make me wait too long." The voice fell, and the tiredness completely dissipated in the world. At the same time, Wai Wuji Wubian also sensed the tired death. Tong Mo's death had already made him very angry, and the Black Dead Mo sent out couldn't find any trace of Li Yiming, which made him very annoyed. Now he is very optimistic about the death of Li Yiming. Undoubtedly, this made Boss Xiao even more furious, unable to maintain his usual composure. Ghost killing team, after I get rid of the ghost hunter who killed Tong Mo, it will be your turn. While swearing, Oni Wu Suji began to flip through the pictures left by Lei before his death. With just one glance, he stood up from the chair in an instant, his pupils contracted into needles, endless joy surged out, and a ferocious smile appeared on his face. The Cyan Bana flower, it's really the Cyan Bana flower, ha ha ha, I finally found it. It's that kid who killed Tong Mo again, but this time he really gave me a big gift. As long as I take the blue Bana flower, I will become the most perfect creature. When the time comes, no one is my opponent, even if Ji Guoyuani is resurrected. The voice of the voice suddenly stopped, and Ghost Wu Suji trembled subconsciously. Sure enough, the shadow left by Ji Guoyuani in his heart was still too great. Even though the other party had passed away for many years, he still didn't dare to speak loudly. Hee, this is human beings. They are too hasty. They don't know what forbearance is. Even if all the members of the ghost killing team arrive, they will not be able to stop me. I will get the blue opponent. Shore flowers, and then eat all the ghost hunters to become the most perfect creatures in the world, and the world will fall under my rule. Oni Wu Suji's face showed a cruel expression. At this moment his ambition finally grew infinitely. Naru, gather all the ghosts and set off to Nation Spider Mountain. The goal is to destroy the ghost killing team and the human who killed Tong Mo, and take the blue Hegan flower. Yes, Lord Wu Mi. Ming Nu gently stroked the piano, and hastily obeyed the order. Teleporting so many targets at once consumes a lot of money for her, but as Oni Wu Suji's close attendant, knowing the character of the other party, she naturally dare not refuse. All the ghosts were sent to the Infinite City, except for the 12 ghosts, even the other ordinary ghosts came. In a short period of time, numerous ghosts appeared in the Infinite City. The final battle is about to begin. Nation Spider Mountain at night can be described as gloomy and windy. There was no singing of birds, no singing of insects, but only the sound of the wind whistling from a distance, and the trees on the mountain were all rustling in this biting wind. The entire Nation Spider Mountain was almost shrouded in a chill atmosphere. At this moment, with a wave of space fluctuations, countless figures quietly appeared in sight. The terrifying scene in front of me can truly be called the Night Walk of the 100 Ghosts. The leading ghost is undoubtedly Oni Mai Suji Mumi in a suit. At this time, his attire is still so gorgeous and elegant. If there is no longing and cruel smile on his face, then he may really be killed. Be a noble son, not the ancestor of ghosts. My lord, there is a lot of human aura on the mountain, but the whole mountain has been shrouded in purple mist, and I don't know what it is. Should we continue to move forward? Boom. As soon as the unknown nonsense spoke, his head split open instantly, and his whole body turned into a puddle of blood and sprinkled on the ground. I don't need others to ask me to do something. Oni Wu Suji looked cold. Such a decisive act made all the ghosts around couldn't help being terrified. Their bodies trembled slightly and they lowered their heads. No one can stop me from taking Cyan Bana. We will kill all those who run away. All ghosts, enter the Spider Mountain in that field, find the ghost hunter, and take the blue Bana flower. Yes, my lord Wu Mi. None of the ghosts dared to disobey Onamai Suji's order. Even if the purple mist floating around didn't know what it was, they would go in no matter how dangerous it was. Entering the area shrouded in purple mist, all the evil spirits did not feel anything strange. The aura of all the swordsmen of the ghost-killing squad permeated the entire Nation Spider Mountain, and no one knew who had the blue Bana flower, so the ghosts naturally chose to disperse. This is exactly one of the plans of Yoya Ubuyashiki. Spread out the 12 ghost moons, and then break them down one by one. Winding Lu Luoji was jumping among the branches. She no longer had the dignified appearance she had when she was in disguise. The ghostly features appeared on her face, and the whole person kept jumping on the trees. Suddenly, Luoji stopped her movements and looked forward. Yo, it's finally here. Wind up, then let's start the battle gorgeously, style. Ah, Mr. Tianyuan, please give me more advice. Yinju Yusui Tianyuan and Wazu Butterfly Kanae stood together. Both of them had faint smiles on their faces, and stopped Luluoji, who started to bulge out a meatball from his neck. Taro quickly appeared, and the four confronted each other face to face. On the other side, Snake Zhu Yihei Xiaoba faced Wu Yuhu, who was wound up, and Immortal Chuan Xia met the string Saiban Tiango. Morning Yu Xingming stopped San Yivazuo, who was wound up. And the strongest ghost of the upper string, one of the upper strings, Black Death Mo, is facing Zaoman Tanjiro. The remaining ordinary ghosts will be dealt with by Purgatory Xingqiulang and Butterfly Ninja leading the other swordsmen of the ghost-killing team. It is not necessary to kill them, but only to delay time. After all, these ghosts are not important, and the important thing is always only the ghost Wuji Suji. Walking in the Spider Mountain with Naruto, Onimai Suji did not encounter any human beings, but he was still able to clearly capture the fierce battles taking place in other places. He doesn't care about the outcome of his subordinates' battles, he only cares about where the blue bana flower is. Not far away, Li Yiming, who had been leaning against the tree, felt this breath from a long distance away, raised his hand to pick up the sun wheel knife next to him, and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Is it finally here? It really made me wait for a while. Woohoo, the dancer. Capturing the battle fluctuations from other directions, it seems that the plan is going smoothly. Before the final decisive battle, he has already told others about the abilities and weaknesses of all the string ghosts. Although the specially trained pillars may not necessarily you can win, but at least you will never lose. Mr. Yiming, please be careful, please. Zhu Shi and Yushiro stood aside, their faces filled with faint prayers. Li Yiming kept moving forward with the sun wheel knife on his shoulders, without stopping, but the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he waved his back to the two of them. Don't worry, Miss Zushi, all this will be left to you. Me, I will defeat Onimai Suji no miserably, and end everything. Then Yushiro, it's up to you to help others. Heiyi, I will do my best, at any cost, leave it to me. After the words fell, Li Yiming's figure had gradually faded away. After walking for a certain distance, he stopped and stood directly opposite, and Guiwu Suji Wuma and Narumi also stood in the same place, looking at each other silently. I finally found you, the ghost hunter who killed Tong Mo. It's very impolite to call me that. After all, I'm not like you. I've even forgotten my own name, and I've turned into this kind of person, ghost and ghost. It's really sad. Without the imagined scene of fighting as soon as they meet, Li Yiming is still in the mood to tease the boss. Everything will end today, so the battle is not in a hurry. If you can use words to delay the time, the situation will become more favorable. However, Onimai Suji Mumi didn't seem to have any interest in continuing to chat. No need to talk nonsense, just hand over the blue bana flower. I can mercifully forgive you for killing Tong Mo, and give you blood, so that you and I can enjoy eternal life together. Humans are weak and will experience birth, old age, sickness and death. Only ghosts are the most perfect creatures. I offer you the blue bana flower, and I allow you to join me. As he said that, Onimai Suji Mukin really put out his hands in a pretentious manner. This very funny look made Li Yiming couldn't help laughing out. You are so interesting, Guiwu Suji Wu am I. How can you say such ridiculous words in a serious manner? I always feel that you or all five of his brains have grown in vain, otherwise it would be impossible to say such words. You wanna die. Hearing Li Yiming scolding himself for being stupid, Guiwu Suji, who claims to be a perfect creature, couldn't stand it. His suit exploded in an instant, and his arm directly turned into a thorn whip, stabbing towards Li Yiming in an instant. Li Yiming suppressed his smile in an instant, his expression froze, and he disappeared in place. With both feet on the trunk of a tree, the sun wheel knife is hidden in the waist, and the other hand is holding the handle of the knife. Thunder's breath 1 type thunderbolt flash. There was a thunderous roar in the air, and the speed under full force made Guiwu Suji feel frightened. Just when he was about to use the thorn whip to resist, the silver lightning disappeared. It's so naive. There was a chuckle in the air, and Guiwu Suji realized that Li Yiming's target was never him, but the Naruho who came with him. However, even now it is too late to realize. A flash of silver lightning flashed across, and Naruto, who was standing not far away, didn't even react at all. Her head had already been cut in half by Li Yiming, and her whole body turned into ashes and disappeared into the sky. Even if you kill Naruto, so what? Do you think you can defeat me? Even at this time, Guiwu Suji still doesn't care. He is the most powerful creature in the world, and no one is his opponent except Ji Guiwanyi. Even the guy in front of him who is stronger than the average column is the same. Don't say it too early. When you met Ji Guiwanyi, you also looked disdainful. In the end, you were instantly killed by him. If you didn't split up into a pile of pieces and fled in all directions, you would have no chance to stand. I continued to speak in front of me, so in order to prevent you from escaping again, it is better to erase the unstable factors first. What do you think? Having said that, Li Yiming showed a playful smile on his face. But it was this kind of frivolous attitude that made Onamai Sujimumi show an expression as if he had stepped on a sore foot, and his face became completely ferocious. Human, go to hell. Boss Scraps shook his body, his clothes were completely torn apart, and 9 pipe whips stretched out from his back, attacking again mercilessly. Even the air was shattered by this attack. Are you angry? Then I won't be kidding anymore, let's go to war. With a restrained smile, Li Yiming threw the scabbard aside, clenched the sun wheel knife with both hands, slashed continuously to block the 9 pipe whips, and shook them away with great force. Let me show you something slightly interesting. Breath of the Sun one-shape round dance. The flames overflowed, and Li Yiming disappeared in the same place in an instant, and appeared in front of Guiwu Sujiwuma in an instant, with the sun wheel knife in his hand, carrying the fire of the sun, and slashed towards the latter. Impossible. The familiar picture made Onamai Sujimumi show a frightened expression. BJBI controlled the whip attack almost subconsciously, but with a flash of fire, the whip was cut off by Li Yiming, and the sun wheel knife continued to move forward unabated. Outlined by the picture in front of him, the inner sense of fear, Guiwu Suji no misery no longer keeps it. The whip on the leg stretched out again, and even the hands turned into thorn whips, frantically swiping towards Li Yiming in front of him, as if he really wanted to knock him back from his side at all costs. Breath of the Sun 3 shapes hyphenation point red mirror of the sun. The high-speed waving blocked all the attacks, and at the same time left 2 deep scars on Onamu Suji's body. With the effect of the sun's breath and the katana, the wounds continuously felt burning pain, double blessing under this condition. Even as the ancestor of ghosts, the speed of recovery is still suppressed. However, the pain in his body at this time was not enough to make Guiwu Suji care. What he cared more about was why this human being in front of him breathed the sun. He obviously doesn't have that kind of earrings. Where did he learn this trick? At the beginning, he killed almost all the people who knew about the breath of the sun and Hidao, but now a human who has mastered these 2 skills suddenly appeared. What a joke. Ji Guiwanyi, you undead, even if you die, will you cause me trouble? There was a dull pain in his chest. Guiwu Suji's expression was equally ugly, and he even had the idea of retreating in his heart, which shows how deep a psychological shadow Ji Guiwanyi left in his heart. Do you want to hibernate again and boil this human being to death before entering the world? The existence of the cyan bana flower has been confirmed, so there is no need to be so anxious. You just need to be careful in the future. There is no need to fight with your life here. In an instant, Waiwu Ji Wulian had a decision in his mind. The next moment, he turned around and prepared to flee. What happened? It was at this time that Guiwu Suji suddenly felt something strange in his body. That faint sense of disobedience came from his body, and his body was being consumed at a terrifying speed. Don't be so surprised, look at your chest. Li Yiming jumped to the front of Guiwu Sujiwuma, pointed at the latter's chest and said with a smile. As soon as these words came out, Guiwu Sujiwuma hurriedly lowered his head and saw a needle tube was inserted into his chest at this time, and the liquid inside had already been injected into his body, producing effects in his body. There are several kinds, one of which accelerated the aging of his cells. In addition, there is actually a medicine that can turn ghosts back into humans. This medicine works together with another medicine, and it is like jaundice attached to the bone, which is difficult to break down. Even the restoration ability of the ancestor of ghosts requires a lot of physical strength. Really careless. Actually researched this kind of thing. Is it Zhu Shi's traitor? I didn't expect your ghost killing team to get involved with ghosts, but you want to kill me just like that. It's too whimsical. I remember you guy, I won't let you go. Leaving a harsh word, Ghost Dance Suji turned around and started to run away. The current situation is very unfavorable to him. It is best to leave this place as soon as possible, and then find a safe environment to decompose the various drugs in the body. I won't let you escape. This is the cemetery I chose for you, go there with peace of mind. Breath of the Sun shape of situation hyphenation point phantom sunbow. Breath of the Sun Wuji type train. The coherent moves fell one by one, and Onamui Suji, who was on the attack, was caught in an instant when he couldn't dodge. Before he could dodge, he was directly chopped off and fell to the ground. The terrifying impact directly overturned the ground, and the air was instantly squeezed. No, I want to escape. There was deep fear in Gui Wu Suji's eyes, and a premonition appeared in his mind that if he could not escape, he might really die in this place today. Already unable to pay attention to the various reactions in his body, under full control, his body began to expand continuously, like a balloon ready to explode. However, this expansion disappeared quickly. How is it possible? I can't decompose it, don't tell me. That's right, there are 3 kinds of medicine in your body, the medicine that turns ghosts back into humans, the poison that makes you old, and the poison that prevents you from splitting. As for the purple mist outside the spider mountain in that field, it's just a poison used to suppress the strength of Shangxian ghost, you have nowhere to escape. Quote, don't even think about other ghosts coming to save you, they should be too busy to take care of themselves right now. Li Yiming's voice was extremely cold, and his words didn't contain much emotion. And just like what he said, the battles in other parts of Nation Spider Mountain were also very smooth. The pillars who had greatly increased their strength and knew themselves and the enemy, even if they were dealing with the ghost of the string, still old with ease. Butterfly Kanae and Yusui Tianyuan cooperated tacitly to behead the fallen princess and the prostitute Taro first. Then the two quickly supported the others. Yuhu and Bantiango died one after another, and Yivazuo was no match for Yenju Beimingyu Xingming at all, and was on the verge of collapse. It is the most terrifying battlefield, where Haishimu and Zaom and Tanjiro still go back and forth. Li Yiming had fully anticipated the situation in each battlefield, and the ghost-killing team had an overall advantage, and there would be no ghosts who could come to rescue Ghost Dance. Let's go on the road with peace of mind, Boss Crumbs. How could I die in this kind of place? Gui Wu Suji Mumi's pupils turned scarlet, and after a roar, his body began to swell violently again. Seeing this scene, Li Yiming's pupils shrank slightly, and he saw through the world precisely through the opponent's body. Completely different from the last time, this time Ghost Wusuji's limbs were successfully split. Although it was not particularly obvious, at least it did. Not good, a little bit too complacent. Li Yiming frowned slightly, and the speed of his hands couldn't help but speed up. The Japanese knife slashed on Onamai Suji's neck, but the latter's split had been completed, and his whole body instantly turned into a large amount of meat, which flew in all directions. Breath of the Sun Shisen form. All the combat skills of the Breath of the Sun are used one after another. This set of swordsmanship forms a cycle, and the sunwheel knife containing the fire of the sun is swung at high speed. Incinerate a large amount of meat scraps into slag. With the suppression of drugs, Guiwu Suji Wu can only split more than 500 pieces, but he still escaped part of it. When he stopped, there was no other figure in front of his eyes. It really taught me a lesson. The villain died because of talking too much, but it's very rare, you can't escape. The opponent's position was precisely locked in his mind. Li Yiming followed quickly, and left Nation Spider Mountain directly, and found a few kilometers away who was wriggling on the ground and wanted to recover. Crumb boss, come out to bask in the sun. Oni Wu Suji was full of resentment, but he couldn't say a word anymore. Originally consumed by Li Yiming's Breath of the Sun, coupled with the scar left by Ji Guiwanyi on his body, two similar energies frantically consumed his body. He tried to escape by splitting his body, but now he was completely injured and was unable to do other things. To put it simply, Ghost Mai Suji has completely lost his ability to resist now, and he can't even suppress the effects of drugs in his body. His body is slowly changing, and he is recovering in the direction of human beings, and his hair is also due to accelerated the medicine of aging and become snow white. In Li Yiming's sight, this man who was still high-spirited before had become exhausted. Silently watching the scene in front of him, he shook his head lightly. I never expected that the poison made by Miss Zushi could completely restrict your splitting, and it almost made you run away. It's a pity that you met it's me, although I'm not as powerful as Ji Guiwanyi, but I still have abilities that he doesn't have. Ghost My Suji is not miserable. If you want to blame it, blame yourself for your bad luck. It is probably the so-called God's will to be able to randomly generate a positioning talent. However, today's incident also sounded a wake-up call for Li Yiming. Before the matter is fully determined, he must not relax, and he must not have the idea that everything will be fine. I almost let this guy run away today, but fortunately I kept my grudge for positioning. There is still some time before dawn. Judging from the current situation of Oni Wusuji, it is obviously unlikely to last until then. It seems that the idea of taking him to bask in the sun is obviously a bit unrealistic. It's really cheap for you, so let me take you on the road. Slowly raised the sun wheel knife in his hand, the fiery red knife body was wrapped in the flames of the sun, cut off under Onamai Suji's terrified and desperate eyes, separated his head from his body, and at the same time all the heart and brain in his body also completely shattered. There was no sound of screams, only the flames began to rise. In the process of gradually transforming back into a human being, Ghost Mai Suji was caught in a sea of flames at the same time. Her vitality and recovery ability dropped rapidly, and finally she fell directly into the flames. With the dissipation of the flame, all traces of his existence have been completely erased. At the same time, on Nation Spider Mountain, the ghost hunters who were fighting ghosts suddenly stopped their movements, and the evil ghosts in front of everyone showed strange behaviors. The evil spirits showed pain on their faces, fell to the ground and struggled continuously, but in the end they could only be completely reduced to ashes. The ghosts have all disappeared. Does that mean that Ghost Mai Suji is dead? I don't know who murmured subconsciously, and the other people on the scene also had this idea in an instant. They looked at each other, and they all saw each other's already rosy eyes. Onamai Sujimu died tragically. Accompanied by loud cheers, all members of the Ghost Slayer squad fell to the ground with their sundial knives, hugging each other in twos and threes and screaming excitedly. Some knelt on the ground in a daze, and some even lay down crying loudly on the ground. Tears soaked the soil on the ground. Completely different from the fierce battle just now, this moment can only be called a group of demons dancing wildly. Far away in the headquarters of the Demon Slayer squad, Yoya Ubuyashiki, who had been expecting the result of the battle, was taken aback for a moment, and then ecstasy appeared on his face. He changed his previous calmness and immediately laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha. They succeeded, they really succeeded. Kiwu Sujimu died tragically. The grievances of the millennium finally ushered in the end in our generation. It's great. A lot of tears fell from the eyes of Yuya Ubuyashiki. He was happy for the final victory, but he was also sad for those children and humans who were killed by ghosts. But in any case, at least their blood was not shed in vain. Tianyan, tell Wyan to make preparations quickly. Set off to Nation Spider Mountain, and do everything possible to rescue the wounded. There must be no other children dying. Yes, Ubuyashiki Amane nodded, calmly left and gave instructions. The only person left in the room was Yoya Yoshiki, who touched his eye sockets. The curse that was burning his body all the time had disappeared at this moment, and he missed the comfort he hadn't had for a long time. Mr. Li Yiming, you are indeed a messenger sent by God. The refreshing breeze blows past, blowing Yoya Ubuyashiki's hair flying wildly. No one can answer his question, but he already has the answer in his heart. The battle ended faster than expected, so that the ghost-killing squad didn't suffer too much loss. After a brief celebration, they regained their sanity and began to rescue other wounded. Because of the existence of Zushi and Butterfly Ninja, coupled with the healing potion possessed by Li Yiming, many people's lives were greatly saved, to minimize the loss. Of course, some ghost hunters who were too late to be rescued could only bring their corpses back. It is indeed very happy to kill Oniwu Sujiwuma, but the death of friends and partners makes people a little unhappy, and the price paid is too great. But anyway, the result is good. A group of people returned to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer squad with different thoughts, and Yoya Ubuyashiki, who had already been prepared for the reception, came to the door in person to welcome the return of all the heroes. Mr. Ubuyashiki, fortunately, I did not disgrace my life. Ah, the curse on my body has disappeared. Thank you very much, Mr. Li Yiming. Thanks to your help, we were able to eradicate the scourge of Onamai Suji. On behalf of the demon killing team, the Miyashiki clan and all members of the priest clan, thanks for your help. As soon as the words fell, Yoya Miyashiki fell to his knees on the ground with the support of Amayashiki Amane. Seeing this scene, all the members of the ghost-killing squad also unequivocally followed their respected lord and knelt down towards Li Yiming to express their highest gratitude. In this regard, Li Yiming did not refuse, but silently chose to bear it. I don't need to say more to thank you. In fact, it is also my purpose to kill Ghost Mai Suji, so you don't need to be so exaggerated. It makes me feel a little embarrassed. But Mr. Ubuyashiki, what are your plans for the future? Diverting the topic, Li Yiming asked vaguely. Everyone stood up one after another, and most of them started to get busy, leaving only the pillars of the ghost-killing team and a few talented swordsmen gathered here. Hearing Li Yiming's words, Yoya Ubayashiki gave the answer without any thought. The children of the ghost-killing squad have worked for too long, and they are fighting with their lives to fight ghosts, so after all the children recover from their injuries, I plan to disband the ghost-killing squad, an organization dedicated to hunting evil spirits. It's no longer needed now. Maybe, I will arrange suitable jobs for every child, so that they can reintegrate into society and lead a more stable and ordinary life. The words of Yuya Ubuyashiki fell into everyone's ears, and no one objected. In fact, if it weren't for the evil spirits killing their family members, they probably wouldn't have gathered together. In comparison, a stable life is happiness. Even if the former family members are no longer there, those who survived need to continue walking. That kind of picture is really beautiful, but after having this kind of experience, it is not easy to reintegrate into an ordinary life, and although the curse in your body has been lifted, the damage left by the curse is not necessarily it can be cured. No matter how difficult it is, I will arrange everything for the surviving children. As for myself, the family curse has been successfully lifted, and it is not so important whether I can recover my body. The smile on Yuya Ubuyashiki's face was like a spring breeze, and he shook his head lightly, not caring about his situation at all. Being able to survive and lift the curse is already the most perfect ending. However, Butterfly Chana Wei, who had been in contact with Li Yiming for a long time, heard another content from his tone, her pupils constricted slightly, and a slight surprise appeared on her face. Yiming, do you have a way to cure the Lord's illness? Hearing the question, almost everyone raised their heads instantly, and focused their gazes on Li Yiming. Well done, Kanae, as expected of a caring girl like a little padded jacket, heard the deep meaning in his words. It was a great help. I don't have that ability, but I can give that possibility. Actually, I came from another world. In my world, there are a group of real gods, and they also possess all kinds of mysterious magic and abilities. The healing potion I took out before is one of the special products. 1. I think there should be someone who can heal your body, Mr. Ubayashiki. The same is true for you, Mr. Zaoman. Li Yiming looked at Tanjiro Zaoman beside him. Your body has lost its vitality because it couldn't bear the strength of the natural stripes, although I don't know if it can make up for it. It is a potion, but it is still possible to strengthen your physical fitness and withstand the power of the stripes. If you want, I can take you there together. Of course I don't force you. These words have been lingering in Li Yiming's heart for a long time. He's even had a belly draft dedicated to it. After all, the pillars of the ghost-killing team are all excellent talents, and it would definitely be a great thing if they can be absorbed into the He Faith family. Although there are not many people who can forge, but in the future at least it can increase the backbone combat effectiveness of the family. Since it is possible to achieve it, Li Yiming naturally wants to try it. What's more, he didn't lie. There are many types of potions for Olali, but Li Yiming has never tried to find out, so he doesn't know if there is a potion for restoring vitality. However, it is easy to solve the negative factors brought about by stripes. The opening of the stripes requires a body temperature of 39 degrees and a heartbeat of more than 200, so it will cause a great burden on the body, but it will also obtain a very strong physical fitness. This is very similar to the second gear of a straw hat rubber boy, but as long as the basic physical fitness increases and the body can fully withstand the strength of the stripes, the loss of turning on the stripes will be within the tolerable range, and the body can completely repair itself. Not only that, but the increase brought by the time pattern will also become greater. Of course, this has nothing to do with Li Yiming, who has no side effects from turning on the markings, and he doesn't need to care about these problems at all. But for others, this is undoubtedly a life-saving straw. Even Kamado Tanjiro and Ubuyashiki Yoya, who were indifferent to life and death, couldn't help being moved at this time. I see. My guess is indeed correct. Mr. Li Yiming, you are indeed a messenger sent by the gods to save ordinary people like us. Ah. You want to say that? It seems that there is nothing wrong with it. Li Yiming nodded slightly stiffly, reluctantly responded. My lord, I think you can try it, if it can really cure your illness, and if you can let Mr. Zaoman survive successfully, then everything is worth it. Butterfly Shanae took the lead in expressing her opinion. Of course she also had some small thoughts. If possible, she would like to go to the capital of the gods with Li Yiming. It would be great if Yaoyashiki's disease can be cured during this period. Namo Amitabha, my lord, I also agree with Wazu's opinion. That's right, the capital of the gods will definitely be very gorgeous, I really want to see it. The persuasion ringing in their ears one after another made Yuya Ubuyashiki and Tanjiro Kamado make a decision in their hearts. It doesn't look like there's a way to retire so early. Since there is a way to continue living, then whether it's for myself, or for Kuiji and the children, I have to try it. The two made decisions one after another, and then there were hearty smiles on their faces. Also smiling was Li Yiming. Ding, it was detected that all of Ghost Dance Suji's party died, the settlement requirement has been met, and the settlement is in progress. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting an S+ rating. Yuya Ubuyashiki is alive, Tanjiro Zaman is alive, and Jongju is alive. You will get a customs clearance reward. In my mind, the long-lost system notification sounded suddenly. Hearing the content inside, Li Yiming seemed a little surprised. So, are there two other settlement methods? One is the destruction of Oniwu Suji Musai, and the other is the destruction of the ghost killing team, or the destruction of the whole world. Or, there is a hidden ending, destroy the ghosts and the ghost killing team, and then rule the world by yourself. There are countless doubts in my heart, but there is no way to confirm it now. After all, this real-life time travel simulation has ended, which means that the Ghost Slayer blade cannot be confirmed. Included in the traversal simulation. So it seems that this kind of conjecture can only be tested in the next simulated world. In that case, then Mr. Ji Yiming, please take us to the capital of the gods. After making a decision, Yuya Ubuyashiki will not continue to hesitate. In addition, he also wanted to see if it was possible to find the possibility of settling the children of the ghost-killing squad in another world. Of course, no problem, you are welcome. After a brief discussion about going to Orari, almost all the staff agreed. However, that was only a few days later. As for now, the ghost-killing squad still had a lot of things to deal with, at least they had to wait for these things to settle down before letting go. Since there was still plenty of time, a banquet was held early the next morning to celebrate the defeat of Onimai Sujimumi and his final victory. During this period, Li Yiming was naturally drunk a lot, and he enjoyed it. As a result, a large number of people were poured to the ground, and even he himself was a little groggy, and finally returned to his room with the support of Butterfly Kanae. Between, Tisk, you really can't drink too much wine, it's really a bit high. Without the basic ability value provided by bravery, Li Yiming's physical fitness is not as explosive as imagined, and now he can barely stay awake, which has reached his limit. As for why he hasn't fallen asleep yet, of course it's because a very important thing is supporting him. Let me take a look, what's in the customs clearance rewards? With a thought, the white light curtain of the system appeared. In the personal backpack, there is an unattractive bag in the second grid, which does not look like anything special, but since it is rewarded by the S+ evaluation. In any case, China should be the first to think about it. Silently mobilizing his thoughts, he opened the reward bag. Boom! A crisp sound was clearly heard, and then the items inside also emerged. A golden sacred key, a card that resembles a sword, and a machine that looks very familiar. Key of the Realm Gate. The owner, Li Yiming, can freely open the world gate to the world of Demon Slayer, Blade, and can carry anyone or any object through, and the world time flow is synchronized. Jian Shin Tongming, Ji Guo Yuan Yi, the talent of swordsmanship from Ji Guo Yuan Yi. Decomposer. The owner, Li Yiming, can disassemble weapons and equipment, and there may be unexpected gains. Key of the Realm Gate. The owner, Li Yiming, can freely open the world gate to the world of Demon Slayer, Blade, and can carry anyone or any object through, and the world time flow is synchronized. Jian Shin Tongming, Ji Guo Yuan Yi, the talent of swordsmanship from Ji Guo Yuan Yi. Decomposer. The owner, Li Yiming, can disassemble weapons and equipment, and there may be unexpected gains. How should I put it? It's richer than expected, but not that rich either. Staring at the reward in front of him in a daze, Li Yiming made a concise evaluation. But no matter what, these 3 rewards are all available now. The key of the World Gate can open the door to the 2 different worlds of Demon Slayer and Orari, so that you can lead the Demon Slayer team. The people who go to Orario can also let the people of Orari enter this world. The decomposition machine probably came from the continent of Arad, and it is also very useful for blacksmiths. As for the biggest gain, it is Ji Guiwan Yi's talent for swordsmanship. The sword heart is clear. Ji Guiwan 1 is the strongest in the world of Demon Slayer. Blade, how powerful is his kendo talent? Holding the sword for the first time, he was able to defeat the country's specialized swordsmanship instructor. Facing the powerful ghost Wu Suji, he said that the opponent was terrible, and at the same time killed the boss with a single blow. He was able to slash a full 1,500 knives in a short period of time. Even in his dying years, he was still able to slash Hei Simo into serious injuries. He was such a legendary man. If you put him in the world of One Piece, who is the #1 swordsman in the world, but it is not certain. The same talent in him, no matter what, is at least orange, that is, the human body and the rules of the world limit his strength, but Ji Guiwan Yi is still a well-deserved sword master. Although there is no reward for immediately increasing strength, it is already very good, and I am very satisfied. I hope that the next time I travel through the simulated world, there will be some abilities that interest me in 5 or 6 and can greatly increase my strength. Whispering softly, Li Yiming slowly closed his eyes and gradually fell asleep. The next day, he still got up early, full of energy as before. Yesterday's hangover did not affect his state in the slightest. In fact, the same is true for the rest of the Ghost Slayer squad swordsmen. Under the command of Yoya Ubuyashiki, many members began to deal with the follow-up in an orderly manner. Without the pressure brought by Oni Wu Suji and the ghosts, everyone is obviously more relaxed and comfortable, and the frontline ghost-slaying swordsmen are now also joining the work of hidden. With everyone's concerted efforts, all the wounded were completely stabilized within a few days. The Demon Slayer squad doesn't need to be disbanded for the time being. Yoya Ubuyashiki probably also briefly explained his future plans to all the members. The people below have their own opinions. Members who look forward to a stable life do not plan to travel to another world. They even hope to find a small town where 3 or 5 friends gather together to live an ordinary life, and then meet the right opposite gender, have children and finish this life. In this regard, Yuya Ubuyashiki did not dissuade, but distributed a large amount of resettlement fees to each member who wanted to leave, as a thank you for their efforts in these years. At the same time, it also promised that if there are any difficulties in the future, you can come to ask for help at any time. As for the rest of the people, they are naturally willing to stay in the Demon Slayer squad and accompany Yoya Miyashiki's confidants. They are also looking forward to going to the capital of the gods. However, at least so far, ordinary members of the ghost-killing team should be unlikely. It is worth mentioning that Zushi and Yushiro also took the medicine to turn back into human beings, and after killing Onamai Suji, they had nothing left to ask for. Maybe Zushi wanted to leave this sad place, but Zushi was willing to follow her to Olali. Li Yiming really didn't expect this point, but he would not refuse. At least Zushi's talent in medicine can be said to be very good. Even if he is not good at fighting, he is very suitable for the recruitment of the Faith family, standard. Of course, Richard needs the nod of Goddess Faith in person. Everything has been dealt with, and I have also stayed in the world of Ghost Slayer, Blade World for several months. Although Olali only passed for an hour, Li Yiming's experience is real. After such a long time, I really miss Olali's life a little bit. Everyone, are you all ready? Are you sure that only these people are going with you now? In the courtyard of the Ubayashiki mansion, Li Yiming looked around at the people in front of him. All of them were familiar faces: Yoya Ubayashiki, Butterfly Kanae, Butterfly Shinobi, Kurihanara Kanao, Tsuyoshi, Yushiro, Zaoman Tanjiro, Kamado Tanjiro, Kamado Nezuko, Yusui Tengen, and Iguro Kobachi. There are only so many people in the first batch, and the others are left behind to be responsible for the management of the ghost-killing squad. After Olili stabilizes, maybe they will go there one after another, but it will be a long time later, and I am afraid that Li Yiming will have become an adventurer in the first echelon of Olali. After all, having the means to travel to other worlds is not a good thing. Especially for some good gods, this will undoubtedly arouse their interest even more, so for the time being, only small batches of people can be brought to Olili. And it needs to be instructed in detail, otherwise it will be very troublesome if it is exposed. Fortunately, Yoya Ubuyashiki and the others expressed their understanding and told everyone that they would never reveal their backgrounds to others. Mr. Li Yiming, there are only so many people going for the time being, please excuse me. No trouble, since there is no problem, I'm going to start now, but please remember my words, although the gods of Olili have sealed their own power, their personalities are completely different. So don't take the initiative to mention their respective origins. Li Yiming's serious words made everyone nod seriously. Seeing that everyone seemed to understand, he didn't hesitate anymore. With a thought, the key of the gate of the world was activated, and a gate emitting golden light slowly emerged, and then fell steadily to the ground. Let's go to the center of the world, where gods, heroes, and monsters gather together. After the words fell, Li Yiming plunged into the golden portal and disappeared in front of everyone first. Seeing this, the others no longer hesitated, led by Butterfly Shanae, entered the golden portal one after another, and then the portal disappeared completely. There was only a group of guys who could only secretly envy because they needed to take care of the ghost-killing squad. With a flash of light, Li Yiming and others appeared in a room. The magic stone lamp that provided lighting on the wall shone with a faint halo. In the familiar environment, Li Yiming recognized at a glance that this was his room in the residence of the Hedo's family. It is almost the same as when we left. The only difference is that there are many more people in the room. The originally not too big room seemed a little crowded due to the increase in the number of people, but fortunately, it was barely able to accommodate everyone. So is there a fixed place to return? It's more convenient to return to where I left before. At least I don't have to worry about throwing me directly into the deep layer of the dungeon when I come back. Very satisfied with the key of the gate, Li Yiming let out a long sigh of relief. Finally came back. Before he could relax completely, a mechanical sound suddenly sounded in his mind again. Real-time travel simulation ends, reward. The final settlement is completed. You survived this simulation for 3.5 months, but you can still get rewards due to customs clearance, and the final evaluation is SE. You can choose 3 from the following rewards. 1 green talent God of Cooking, 2 purple talent Spearmanship Genius, 3 blue talent Breathlock, 4 improved cyan Biangwa seeds that can be cultivated artificially, 5 complete mimicry. Is there actually another round of rewards? The mechanical notification sound of the system surprised Li Yiming too much, so the previous one was the reward for clearing the level, and now this is the reward for ending the time-traveling simulation. Double rewards are too delicious. It's a pity that almost all the wool in the world of Ghost Slayer Blade has been scooped up, and the rewards are relatively mediocre. The breath-locking effect is not bad. Guiwu Suji used it to escape before, so that he could find the trace of the other party. The chef can increase his cooking talent. Spear Genius is the only purple talent. Although Li Yiming is not knowing how to shoot a gun doesn't mean you won't learn it in the future. After all, what saber can't kill Lancer after she puts on the gun? As for the blue Biangwa seeds, the herb that can make Guiwu see the weakness of the sun must have more effects, and maybe it can be used to create some special potions. The last one, full mimicry, probably came from Oniwu Sujiwuma, the ability used to hide himself on weekdays. The ability to freely change various structures of the body, including but not limited to appearance, gender, smell, etc., can be perfectly reproduced as long as it has been seen by the naked eye. This is one of the great skills to become an assassin, it's so convenient to use it for sneak attacks. In the same way, if you become a certain man, then sneak into the other person's house, and do some ghostly things. Heck, this is also possible. The 5 rewards are uneven, but all have their own advantages and disadvantages. Li Yiming once again fell into the difficulty of choosing. It would be great if there was an option called, take them all. Unfortunately, system, I choose 5. Ding! The reward selection is successful. The purple talent spearmanship genius is automatically changed to a skill. The skill level is given to B according to the talent strength. Attacking the host gets spearmanship B. Perfect mimicry is automatically changed to magic, and the effect remains unchanged. In the blink of an eye, Li Yiming had another skill in magic. It stands to reason that when he was bestowed with favor, he only had one magic bar, which was already occupied by the mole of love, but now he has one more magic. If other adventurers find out about this, they will definitely go crazy with envy. It's a pity that it is probably impossible for anyone except the goddess Hedos to know about this matter. I have gained a further improvement, and I may need to practice spear skills in the future. The brainstorming between the electric light and the flint did not delay for too long. When Li Yiming withdrew his attention from the white screen in front of him, everyone around him had already looked at his room, and this similar architectural style brought some inexplicable familiarity. Even in this strange world, it seems that it is not as bad as imagined. Yiming, have we arrived at Orari? Butterfly Kanae asked curiously. Li Yiming nodded slightly, and responded with a smile. This is Olali, and the place where you are now is in the residence of the Faith family of Faith, and it is also in my room. If you want to see the world, I probably have to wait until tomorrow to have a chance, and it is still night. It's amazing, so we should now. What should I do? Do you need to pay a visit to God? When saying this, Yuya Ubuyashiki was obviously a little excited. He is just an ordinary person, and now the opportunity to meet the gods is in front of him. It is difficult for ordinary people to keep calm, especially for him who is married to a priest. Well, let me think about it first. Li Yiming scratched his head lightly, with a slight hesitation on his face. At the beginning, I pulled everyone here in a flash of brain fever, and I didn't think about how to report this matter to Goddess Faith. Now it's a little troublesome. He obviously didn't see anyone entering He Faith's family, but suddenly so many people came out of his room. No matter how he thought about it, he felt very strange. But things have come to this, and there is no other way, right? No way. Then let's go to visit Lord Shengshan together. She should agree to let you join the Faith familiars. If it is not possible, there are still the rest of the family members can be recommended, so you don't have to worry about this problem at all. Quote, no, we have never worried about these things, we are just hesitating about what kind of posture we should use to visit Lord Faith later. That's right, the thought of seeing a god makes me inexplicably terrified. Amitabha. Bei Mingyu Xingming, who had already taken off the uniform of the Ghost Slayer squad, had no pupils in his white eyes, but still shed tears and silently recited scriptures. Hearing this sentence, Li Yiming couldn't help laughing. It was exactly the same as when he first came to Olali. If it wasn't for the memory of his previous life, maybe he would behave even more unbearably. Actually, there is no need to be so restrained. Lord Shengshan is very easygoing, and he is not a difficult character at all. If you want you to have enough respect, then God. The adults will definitely not embarrass you. Quote, okay, the specific situation will be known after everyone sees Goddess Hedos, let's go. After the voice fell, Li Yiming opened the door first and walked out of the room. The long aisle was still empty, which undoubtedly made him relieved. At least he didn't need to explain the current situation. It's not too late now, Goddess Faith should not be resting yet. Passing through the room where the members of the family lived, Li Yiming led a group of people and continued to walk in. At a place that no one noticed, a pair of eyes suddenly turned outward through the crack of the door. On the face of it, that's the new child that Faith found before, with so many people at such a late hour, seems to want to find Faith. Could it be? Here we are, this is Lord Shengshan's room, let's go. The voice became very soft. Li Yiming took a deep breath, stepped forward 2 steps and knocked on the door. After a while, the voice of Goddess Faith came from inside. The door is open, come in. Hearing this sentence, Li Yiming unscrewed the door and only poked his head in. Goddess Faith, who was still dressed in her usual clothes, was sitting on the head of the bed, holding a book in her hand. When the door opened, her gaze was already looking this way. It seems that Goddess He Faith is going to sleep. It's Yiming, what's the matter so late? The red-haired goddess showed a gentle smile. Ah, there is indeed something wrong, Lord Shengshan, I am really sorry to disturb you so late, but because the matter is urgent, I am very sorry. Li Yiming smiled awkwardly, then leaned halfway in. As if reading something from his face, Faith closed the book, came to Li Yiming's side from the bed, and asked suspiciously, "What is so urgent?" "I have a few friends with special backgrounds. They just came to Olili and wanted to join the family as adventurers. After thinking about it, I brought them here without authorization." "Yes, I'm really sorry. The main reason is that the origin is really special, so it's such a small thing." Faith couldn't help chuckling. "It's no big deal, since it's Yiming your friend, I believe it must be credible. Even though I can't guarantee that I will be able to accept them, it's okay to meet them, so let them come in first." "Really? Thank you, Lord God." Li Yiming breathed a sigh of relief, and then opened the door. "My Lord God has given permission, let's all come in." In her Faith's room, the atmosphere became extremely dull. The red-haired goddess, who is usually very gentle, looked at the people in front of her with burning eyes, especially when she stayed on Li Yiming for an extra long time, and she didn't know what to say anymore. After a while, she seemed to barely regain her senses. "Yiming, are you sure you're not joking? Are they really humans from other worlds?" Although she was still asking questions, in fact, Faith had already believed Li Yiming's words, and she didn't feel that the other party was lying, which already explained the answer. But even so, Goddess Faith still asked again, which was obviously unbelievable. However, Li Yiming's serious nodding appearance shattered all the last expectations in her heart. "Lord Kamami, Mr. Ubayashiki and the others are indeed people from another world. I also entered that world tonight. I have gone through untold hardships before successfully returning, and then I have the qualifications to enter and exit another world. I just want to the family needs people, so I brought them back." Avoiding the most important thing and saying what can be said, Li Yiming didn't lie at all. Therefore, Goddess Faith didn't feel the slightest difference. Her expression was a little dull, her right hand covered her slightly opened lips, her mood was very complicated. This is simply extraordinary. Only now did she realize that she had underestimated the potential of the child in front of her. Even the gods and the heavens couldn't do it, but as a human being, he could easily accomplish it. Is the potential of the people of the lower world really so terrifying? Even the gods can't compare with it. This kind of gap in expectation is really too much to stop. Really, Yiming, you always bring me all kinds of surprises and frights. Goddess Hedos, who barely recovered her strength, sounded reproachful, but the expression on her face did not mean to blame. "Sorry, Lord Shangshan, I made my own decisions." "No, that's not the reason. In fact, I was quite excited when I heard the news. After all, this is something that even us gods can't do, but you can do it. Sure enough, Yiming, you will definitely be able to do it in the future. Become the best hero, even surpassing all previous heroes." Words of incomparable certainty were uttered from the mouth of Goddess Faith. This time, Li Yiming did not refute. "Since they are children from other worlds, and they were brought back by you, Yiming, they must be some excellent children. You are welcome to join the Faith family of Hedos." The red-haired goddess showed a gentle and friendly smile to Yuya Miyashiki and the others. "Master Shangshan, it is a serious word. It is our honor to be able to join you." A group of people responded in a panic, and their voices were obviously very respectful. However, everyone was obviously very excited to have the permission of Goddess Hedos. Taking a panoramic view of everyone's expressions, Goddess Hedos also nodded slightly. Although she doesn't have the eyes of God like Freya, but as a goddess, she still has a basic vision of seeing people, and she can feel that these children in front of her are very pure and good people. There are a few of them with good strength, and they are indeed some high-quality talents, so it is not a bad idea to recruit them into the Ji family. However, Yiming, there is one thing I need to remind you. Regarding your ability to travel to other worlds, you must never use it in front of people you don't trust. Do you understand what I mean? When she said this, the expression on the face of Goddess Faith was very serious. The main thing is to travel to other worlds, which has a very terrifying temptation for the gods who are too idle to fade out. It is difficult to predict what they will do in order to travel to other worlds. Maybe, the god who coveted Li Yiming's existence might become unscrupulous. What a hassle. Well, forget it, if it really comes to that time, let's think about a solution. Goddess Faith shook her head, her expression became serious again. Then, everyone takes off their clothes one by one, and sits down. Come on the chair, who will come first? Everyone looked at each other, and pushed Yoya Miyashiki out in a tacit understanding. In this regard, Yoya Ubuyashiki did not refuse. But before he took off his coat, an accident happened suddenly. Bridge Bean Sack, wait for me. The door was suddenly pushed open from the outside, and a petite figure suddenly rushed in. Because the force used was too great, the car couldn't stop for a while, and fell to the ground directly, and the whole person slid face to face. It took a long distance to stop. The figure slid almost all the way to Li Yiming's feet. Looking at the familiar costume and twin ponytails, he quickly recognized the other party's identity, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help twitching crazily at the actions of the goddess. The face of the gods, Hestia should be the first person. Hestia, you weren't eavesdropping outside just now, were you? Looking at the figure on the ground, Goddess Faith's movements froze immediately, and she stared at this unreliable god friend in front of her with a dark face. Apart from helplessness, there was also deep annoyance on her face. I really indulged this guy too much, and dared to do such things as eavesdropping. It's fine in normal times, but today such an important matter was heard by Hestia. This guy is famous for his big mouth. If Li Yiming's secret is leaked out, at that time, not only the latter will be coveted, but even the Faith family will be affected. Even though they are now one of the top artisan families, if they are targeted by all the families of Olali, they will collapse quite quickly. So, now we need to think about how to solve this matter. Hey, Faith Toss, I really didn't mean it, it's just that I accidentally saw Mr. Yiming coming to you with so many people. I thought it was a new child, so I was a little anxious, who I know you guys would talk about such an important thing. But don't worry, I haven't heard anything, and I won't tell the story if I hear it. Hestia hurriedly raised her right hand to swear, but her eyes scanned Li Yiming's body intentionally or unintentionally. This kind of small action that she thought was very concealed fell into the eyes of everyone. This undoubtedly made her Faith even more angry. The red-haired goddess strode forward, pinched Hestia's cheeks with both hands, and lifted her directly from the ground. As a goddess of forging, although her divine power is sealed, but because she has been forging for a long time, her power is also very huge, which is not comparable to that of Hestia. The latter couldn't break free at all, and could only mutter and beg for mercy. It's a pity that even her mouth was squeezed together, and no one could hear what she was saying clearly. Hee, since you have heard such an important matter, even if you are my close god friend, there is nothing you can do about it. I will work hard to give it back, so that no one will leak this news. I am really sorry, Hestia, I am also forced to do nothing. If you want to blame it, blame you for hearing something you shouldn't hear. Goddess Hestia let out a sinister laugh, and her words were so realistic that Hestia believed the statement immediately, and the lowly goddess immediately began to struggle crazily. However, no matter how hard she tried, it was all in vain. He could only watch Hestia getting closer and closer, and Hestia almost cried out of fright. Boom! Accompanied by the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground, Hestia fell to the ground, using both hands and feet, tumbling and crawling to hide behind Li Yiming, looking at Hestia in panic. Feeling the slightly trembling body on the arm and the soft touch from time to time, Li Yiming suddenly sighed helplessly. My lord, please don't scare God Hestia. HMPH, it was obviously a very normal dissuasion, but Faith Toss glared at him. Really, for Yiming's sake, I will forgive you for the time being, but Hestia, you will definitely not accept this matter. Can't say it, if you don't do it, then the relationship between us will cease to exist. Serious expression, deep eyes, indifferent tone. Everything is being told, and Faith is not kidding. Hestia, who had never seen this scene before, obviously realized the seriousness of the matter, lowered her head like a child who did something wrong, and muttered softly, I see, it's my fault, don't worry, Faith Toss, I will not leak the matter of Mr. Yiming. Then let's just trust you, so what do you want to rush in all of a sudden? Ah, it's all because you scared me, Faith, and made me forget the business. It was obvious that the limelight had just passed, and Hestia regained that carefree personality again, but after receiving Faith's stare like a steel needle, she became honest for an instant. Goddess slowly began to answer questions honestly. Then what, Faith Toss, your family is already so powerful, it is already one of the best artisan families in Olali, and you don't need so many newcomers, right? You see, I don't even have a family now. Let these children join my family. Don't worry, I will treat them well and manage the family seriously. As if afraid that Hestia would not believe it, Hestia quickly patted her chest, causing the ground to shake, but her voice was also full of confidence. But as soon as these words came out, her Faith's face turned dark again. Sure enough, I shouldn't forgive this guy, it's really shameless. She regards Hestia as a close friend of God, but this guy actually regards herself as a vengeful seed, directly poaching the wall in front of her. This kind of behavior will make the two gods become sworn enemies. It's really smug enough. You guy, it's better to return, you. Don't say such horrible words in such a serious manner, Faith Toss. You also know that I have just descended to the realm not long ago, and the current Orly family is saturated. Which adventurer is willing to join the family of gods like me? Ah, I also want to be self-reliant, but I can't do it. As soon as this boring topic was mentioned, Hestia's emotions suddenly became out of control. The god who is obviously very holy is rolling back and forth on the ground like a rascal at this moment, complaining aggrievedly about what happened to him before. It really hurts the listener and sheds tears when he hears it. Hestia did find adventurers at the beginning and asked them if they wanted to join her family. But there is no doubt that after knowing that it is a new family member, they were all rejected without hesitation. The dungeon is very dangerous. The main god doesn't have very good abilities, and there is no strong senior adventurer to lead him. The probability of newcomer adventurers being dog-led is as high as 80%. And those senior adventurers are not willing to serve as tool people, so they have lived here until now. Come to think of it, Hestia, as the goddess of the stove and the home, cannot teach her family. Cook, there is absolutely no way to help in this regard. Forehead. Yoya Ubuyashiki and the others, who saw this scene for the first time, looked at each other in embarrassment, with very strange expressions. It always feels completely different from the image of the gods they imagined. Obviously, the appearance looks extremely holy, beautiful, natural, and majestic, and the intimacy like the incarnation of nature rushes to the face, which makes people yearn for it. But it is such an existence, rolling on the ground at this moment, that image is instantly broken. Okay. You fool, get up from the ground quickly. How long are you going to be ashamed in front of these children? Looking at Hestia's actions, Faith caressed her forehead with a helpless expression on her face, so she just couldn't handle this guy. Herdes, just promise me. We are the best god friends, aren't we? If you need help with anything in the future, I will definitely help you. Ah, having said all this, her Faith could only sigh helplessly. No way. Who made this guy in front of me my best friend? Not to mention, Hestia was the only one who saw her under the blindfold and didn't feel. Laughing and scared guy. If Hestia can be matured through the establishment of the family, it seems that it is not impossible. If you mess around like this again, then I will really refuse. Nani. Hestia, who heard this sentence, catapulted and started, and rushed to Faith in an instant. Her face was full of longing. Faith, did you really agree? Yes. Who made you so rambunctious? Although she had already agreed in her heart, Faith still didn't let go of her mouth. This must be Tsunere. Great, Faith, you are my best friend, you really helped. After receiving an affirmative answer, Hestia jumped up and hugged Hedos in her arms, her cheeks rubbing against the latter's cheeks, and her joy was almost uncontrollable. This kind of intimacy made Faith quite helpless, but it was not particularly contradictory. After hugging for a while, Hestia completely calmed down. The eyes of this lowly goddess are like little stars, looking at all the people brought by Li Yiming, and seems to be choosing the right family members. Is she finally going to have kids of her own? Let's say it first, Hestia, if these children don't want to join your family, then don't blame me. It should be fine, right? I know, I'm not a god who likes to force others. For Hestia's reminder from Hedos, Hestia, who has fallen into endless fantasies about the future, obviously couldn't listen to these things. Answer. The gesture of unloading the grind and killing the donkey is not even the slightest cover-up. Sensing the helpless look in Faith's eyes, Li Yiming could only quickly comfort him. Master Shengshan, there is no need to show such an expression. In fact, we Faith. The Tuo's family can also form alliances with other families, which is also a good thing for future development. Quote. And Lord God, you don't have many friends, and the one with the closest relationship is God Hestia. God Hestia has a pure personality, and the followers he recruits are definitely good people. Isn't it the best ally choice? If it's even possible, you can also bring in the Mahei family. By then, it won't be as weak as it is now. What do you think? Hee, you really are turning your elbows outward. Faith, who was already a little depressed, became even more depressed after hearing this sentence, and rolled his eyes at Li Yiming angrily. What a heartless little white-eyed wolf. However, if you think about it carefully, what the other party said is not unreasonable. There is a monster in the family, and we really need to find some allies, otherwise the secret will be exposed at that time. It might be a good decision to hand over some of these outstanding children to Hestia, provided they are willing. Thinking of this, Faith gradually thought about it. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.